Hi guys, my name's Connor. I'm a science fiction, political philosophy nerd, Marine Corps and law enforcement veteran, and I am a real Republican, which I'll explain later. I have content related to the Charlie Kirk assassination in which Stephen Bonnell II is arguing with some of his interlocutors, some of his peers and friends and enemies about the assassination and what we should do after the assassination. So let's bring these fellas onto screen, this fella and lady, and let's see what they have to say.
I think that if you're telling people that there's nothing to do, there's no way to fix it, you're feeding into what is inevitably going to happen, then
Wick's correct.
Our country's and we deserve to go to whatever the next stage is. Because
No, fuck you, Steven. Wrong.
I think our country's fucked.
It is. What you're talking about is fucking retarded. You keep talking about all these fucking retarded games we have to play. Well, we have two actual retards here that we have to pretend are normal adults. You're talking about a politically maneuvered environment where there's a guy driving us towards civil war, and you've got dip left that apparently doesn't know any legal event that's happened in the past 10 years to start being a lawyer, and you got a Israeli Jew on the right who only cares about trans issues, and you're talking about how do we perfectly message on the left while the president of the United States talks about driving civil war. This is retarded. This is retarded. And you are retarded. And I'm tired of acting like everybody has to be treated like a retard. It's insanity to me.
No, you have to treat everybody like they're an arsler because they are an arsler. Guys, Steven's wrong again. Okay. And the reason why he's wrong is because, like I've brought up many times on my stream, I have 132 IQ. Now, it's probably 120 now because I've taken a lot of brain damage over the years, but I'm an above average smart bear. Steven is an above average smart bear. Okay. The world was not built for above average smart bears. You need to think about all the people in your life and you need to think about the smart person. Is the smart person in your life so smart that they're stupid? That's probably true. Now think about the average person in your life. The average person, I hate to do it. Sorry, Xander Hall. I'm not trying to be too insulting. The average person in life is Xander Hall. And what I mean by that is Xander Hall has an okay command of politics. He has an okay command of history, but his insights can be a little slow. And sometimes he can say stuff that you're just like, how did you arrive at that conclusion? And oftentimes it's through thoughtlessness. He's not actually like critically analyzing what's going on. He's just repeating some bullshit that he heard from somebody else. Okay. That's the majority of people. So if you think that pretending that everybody else is super intelligent is going to be a viable rhetorical political strategy, then you're wrong. You just want to have your opinions. And by the way, I'm guilty of this. I'm 100% guilty of wanting everybody to be as smart as possible so I can communicate with them so we can have complex ideas. But there's a reason why my chat is known for quality and not quantity. Okay? We are a smaller chat, but we have above average smarter people because we cater to that. But that doesn't mean that we're going to be as effective as Eden Ross, Hassan Piker. Name somebody who has a dumb audience. That person is more powerful than me because they cater to morons.
It's time for the streets to run red with the blood of everyone. Let's go! My actual thoughts.
Okay, yeah, please, Dev, not time for memes.
Okay, so, jokes aside, I've noticed a pattern, okay? When you have a left-wing guy who attacks a right-wing guy, you'll see establishment Democrats offer condolences. Maybe they'll take the opportunity to shill for some new gun laws. Far-left communists over on Blue Sky, they'll cheer and clap and talk about how liberals deserve the bullet too. Right-wingers talk about wanting a civil war and they want revenge. They want justice. But when a right-wing guy attacks a left-wing guy, you'll see establishment Democrats call for calm. They'll definitely shill for new gun laws. Far left communists, they might be outraged, but they might also say, oh, well, he was a lib, he was a traitor to the revolution. And then right wingers, they invent these conspiracy theories about how the attacker was not truly right wing. He was a crypto leftist or he was a glowy or some shit. And there can be no real reconciliation unless.
No, partisan. Partisan says both sides gunning for a civil war is like two cars driving towards each other. Even if you stop your car, it's not going to help you avoid a collision. Both have to stop. Okay, you're right in a certain regard, and your analogy proves my point in another regard. Okay, if you're doing 60 miles an hour and the other car is doing 60 miles an hour, then when you hit each other It will be the equivalent force of hitting a brick wall at 120 miles an hour. Both of you will definitely die. So they're going down the Civil War route equals 100%. There will be death, destruction, mayhem, murder, slaughter, people shitting themselves, people's jugulars getting exploded, the weird orange spray tans on corpses. It's going to suck. Okay? That's one path. The other path is you slam on the brakes. Now, you can say that the other party is responsible for the car crash and they're still doing 60 miles an hour straight towards you, but now there's actually a chance that you'll survive the accident. There's a chance that they're going to survive the accident because it's going to be a 60 mile an hour head-on crash, which is still going to be bad. You could still die in a 60 mile an hour head-on crash, but you're definitely going to die in a 120 mile an hour head-on. Okay. A 60 versus 60 is 120. Okay. So yes, your analogy is correct that the other person is responsible. Your analogy also points out my argument that if you keep driving 60 miles an hour, hoping that the other person chickens out, if you guys get into a head-on collision, you're both fucking dead guaranteed.
Yes, the right deals with its own violence. And that's kind of weird to say when it was a right-winger who just got killed, but it is nonetheless the truth.
Yeah, we have a leader right now in the United States of America. His name's Donald Trump. If anybody has the responsibility to turn down the violence, it probably should be him, especially given that he's the one that pushes a lot of it. Seeing Charlie Kirk get exploded on Streamable over and over again is exactly the type of stuff that Republicans push for. It's exactly the type of stuff they want. You can tell by the way they respond to it. It's not a call for peace. It's a call for more and more and more violence. That violence just always seems more acceptable when it's not happening directly to you. If you have two people standing in front of a piece of paper doused in kerosene and both of them have a match, one person extinguishing their match is not going to prevent the paper from catching on fire. This weird game of saying the left needs to turn it down over and over and over again. We're like a decade into this insanity. And Donald Trump, even today, like people on Fox and Friends are begging him to call off the civil war that the other side keeps screaming for, and he refuses to do it. Matt Walsh.
Marco Sullivan says, you said the killer uses rhetoric that dislikes fascism, and you said, therefore, he is on the left. Yep, he's on the left. Bella Ciao is an anti-fascist song. Black Bloc and Antifa are socialist and communist organizations.
From the Daily Wire and a ton of other large right-wing figures are literally calling for revenge, for retribution, for some type of war. The idea that the left shouldn't say anything or that the left needs to take the lead on this, civility is achieved when both sides agree to be civil. And if the right isn't agreeing to be civil, then the left is being amoral or immoral by trying to be civil. You shouldn't.
Bullshit.
You shouldn't subject yourself to extinction when the right is calling for.
This is another super stupid point. Sorry, Steven. This is dumb as fuck. All right, drawing time. We're already in the stupidity. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for inspiring a drawing. The drawings are going to be wildly not proportional, which is fine. Here's a handshake. Here's a gun. Okay? Let's do it. Boop. 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 It's going to be a Desert Eagle, apparently. Woo! I'll make it a Desert Eagle. I think I can make this a Desert Eagle. Okay. Here's a handshake. Here's a Desert Eagle, okay? But let's say that this is the left. Let's say this is the right. Excuse me. I don't know why I use a circle. I don't care. Criticize my drawings later. I guess I don't need that. That's fine. Then let's give him a gun as well. Let's make it a simpler gun because I want my Desert Eagle to be fancy. Okay. So this is the left and right now. You should always have a diplomatic hand first. Always, 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 always. You should always say, hey, war is diplomacy by other means. So we don't want to go to war. Okay? Always. Whereas the other guy is saying, I don't want to talk to you. You're a piece of shit. And, you know, I'm gonna use my gun to come kill you. Now, at this point in American politics, Republicans are not pointing the proverbial gun at America. They're saying, I don't want to shake your hand because you just shot one of my people. So I don't want to shake your hand because you just killed one of mine. So the whole point is that if this hand comes up, what's up, baby?
I'm taking Henry with me because that is cupcakes to school.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So let's say that this hand comes up, then you shake the hand that comes up and you say, okay, sorry for the violence. Let's figure out how to make this work, okay? We're both each other's countrymen. We should love each other on some way. We should figure out how to help each other. You know, we have disagreements on what makes America great. Let's fight those out. But then, if the other hand comes up with a gun, well, then guess what? Then you come up with a gun at the same time. Now, you're right to say that action always beats reaction. This is true. This is something that was reinforced to me in the law enforcement academy. Action always beats reaction. So you don't want to be so slow with your reaction that this guy just smokes you. But we're not talking about individual conflict. Okay? We're not talking about a one-on-one scenario. We're talking about this being an analogy for the violence within the United States of America. So what Steven is saying, because he's an asshole, how violence works. Okay, diplomacy first, violence. Okay, so what Steven is saying is that, well, the right wing won't shake our hand in fraternity, so we don't need to shake their hands and we don't need to be ready to shake their hands because fuck them. Okay? What I'm saying is you always lead with diplomacy or else you're guaranteeing that this person's going to bring a gun up and you're going to have to bring your gun up and you're going to have to shoot each other in the face. Very simple calculation.
For, you know, a total destruction of your side and keep saying you're at war.
Okay, and with that, I open up the floor. If anyone feels they're being talked over or needs to get a word in edgewise, just let me know. But other than that, let's get to the conversation.
Yeah, I'll
Lethal Lance says, was FDR and Churchill justified in all their bad behavior during World War II in order to defeat the Nazis? Or would you characterize it as you don't get to participate in bad behavior just because your enemy is?
go first.
This is perfect. Thank you for asking. Paint. Oh, I think I already have one. I already have one because I'm a fucking genius. Everyone is a stupid tool. Even the smartest people in the world are stupid tools. I love you guys. You guys are brilliant. I'm not saying that I don't have an above average smart chat. I really do. But you guys are kind of fucking stupid in some regards. Okay. So modern warfare after World War II is predicated on the fact that a military-aged male will kill jihadists and bomb jihadists, but it will try to minimize the amount of men, women, and children who are shot in the fucking face. Okay? That is war, and that is war in the Western world. We try to kill the opposing armed militant. We try not to kill women and children. It happens as a result of collateral damage, but it is not the intent of our actions to kill women and children. Bad guys, including Nazis, by the way, and including jihadists, will target men, women, children, men who are unarmed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what you're arguing is that actually, since this person is engaged in killing men, women, and children, we are morally justified in killing men, women, and children, and we're actually pussies and cucks if we don't kill men, women, and children. I think that's dumb as fuck. I think that's the stupidest possible argument that you could make. And I think that oftentimes the reason why people try to flatten this morality is so that they can justify that this thing and this thing are the same. You are actually arguing for these two things to become the same, for this guy to just gun down men, women, and children because that's what jihadists do and that's what Nazis do. And I'm saying, no. If this person is going to try to kill you or your countrymen or somebody that you live with or whatever, then you kill him. But that does not give you license to engage in all of the bad behavior that he engages in. It should be obvious, but, you know, maybe it's not. Maybe I've lived in a violent world my entire life, and I've studied the morality of violence for my entire life, and you guys are new. I don't know. Maybe you guys are fucking new.
My first question for Destiny would be, if we had a clip of Trump today saying that it needs to be nonviolence and kind of honoring and lifting the spirit of Charlie Kirk and following it in his footsteps, would that change any of the analysis we're doing here?
If Donald Trump was making strong, like, disavowals of violence and saying everybody.
Okay, so Octus Alias. Somebody ban Octus Alias. I don't need a perma, and I can only do permas on my end. Somebody suspend him. I don't care. You could be the nicest guy on the, you could be a conservatarian, you could be a right winger, you could be this, you could be that, and you're probably the person who needs to hear this most. Okay, you're probably the person who needs to hear what I'm saying the most. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to be a cuckold for you, where you say, nah, that's okay. As a matter of fact, fuck you. No, that's okay. I'll keep my likes and my money. If you say some smart shit in my chat, you're going to get banned. Go fuck yourself. How about that? How about that? Boom. Bye.
Needs to turn it down, that would be very good. It would start to change things, yes.
Okay, so I don't want to do the clip game back and forth, but I just, you want to take my word for it, great. If not, we can do the clip game. Saw a clip of him today. I don't know if it was on it was like on the White House lawn, and I heard him explicitly saying, basically,
I've already seen the clip that you're talking about, and literally 5 seconds before the edited clip you've seen, he blames radical left Democrats. So no.
So then in that spirit,
True.
Then I seem to recall back to the Biden Independence Day speech, which I agree was not as bad as people make it out to be, because he puts this caveat in there where he's saying, oh, it's not the whole Republicans, it's not the whole conservative movement, it's just those MAGA Republicans. And seemingly putting that caveat in there was enough to kind of quell people, or I guess get folks on the left to think, oh, look, he's not calling for violence.
AF Racing says, Alhamdulillah, my brothers and sisters and everything in between, and Connor. True. Alhamdulillah. I think, isn't it like a Allahu Alhamdulillah or some shit like that? It's like God wills it, something like that.
It's just those crazy MAGA Republicans.
I've watched the entire speech and I've read the transcript, and I can link it to you. He's explicitly talking about people who deny the results of the 2020 election.
Sam, thank you for your super chat.
A belief that over 80% of conservatives hold today. It is insane, and he was 100% correct in his analysis.
And so you're saying there's a world of difference there then between Biden when he clarifies and says, oh, I'm just talking about MAGA Republicans, but then when Trump says, I'm just talking about radical left Democrats, they're saying that's different, those clarifications?
Biden was talking about people that were denying the outcome of the election. When Donald Trump says radical left Democrats, he's talking about every Democrat in the United States of America. Biden explicitly said afterwards, I don't even think the majority.
Paul says, would you want to pin the murderer on one side by any means? What are they supposed to do with a potential bad person? You do what the law calls for. They're either incarcerated for their life or they're executed by the state. And by the way, if it's a right-winger who engages in extra-legal or extrajudicial violence, we as a society need to say, well, I agree with some of his arguments, but realistically, he engaged in extra-legal, extrajudicial violence. He must be incarcerated for life or killed. And if a left-winger engages in extra-legal or extrajudicial violence, then we need to say, okay, well, I see what he's saying. However, he still needs to be incarcerated for life or killed. That's the only way a liberal society continues to function. That's the only way a free society continues to function, is that both sides hold their bad actors to account.
Majority of Republicans are MAGA Republicans, but he was explicitly talking about people that denied the results of the election, which is a view that most conservatives.
6.5 millimeter Grendel, thanks for not answering my question. I'm a nationalist. That doesn't mean shit to me, okay? There are people who say that when they say I'm just a nationalist, there are people who just don't know what the word means. And so as a result, they're like, I'm proud to be an American. But then there's people who understand that nationalism comes out of the root of the word ethnos. And so as a result, they think that nationalism is exclusively an ethno-nationalist philosophy. So you saying I'm a nationalist does not answer my question. And if you keep doing like Groyper memes / ethno-nationalist memes, then you're not my friend. God Emperor Dominion says, people need to learn to show evidence instead of telling people about the bad things Republicans do every day. And if they say you'll call out your own, do it with the same message. Okay. Fashion 40 renewed their membership. Appreciate you taking the brain damage and pushing your positive morals. It helps me make sense of all the chaos. All right, based. Grendel says, I don't like Trump. Is it because you don't like Trump because he's too far left or too far right? 6.5 millimeter Grendel. There's plenty of right wingers who don't like Trump because they don't think he's extreme enough.
A huge majority hold today, which that's absolutely corrosive to our democracy. This morning, when Donald Trump was asked, "What can we do? What should we do?" Donald Trump says, "Take vengeance." And then the guy's like, "You what? Like at the ballot box?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, voting, but that doesn't work anymore because it's all rigged." And that was what he said. It's like,
yup.
Oh, okay. So I guess we're just gearing up for a civil war.
Fashion 40 for $5 says, here's my beer money, and I'm not trying to alleviate my guilt. I'm a New York City liberal, not a transplant leftist. Much love as always. I'm sorry for almost yelling you at Fashion 40. I parasocially love you. Sorry for yelling at you. Also, if you're brokies and you need to hold on to your money, hold on to your money, brother. I appreciate the super chats. I really do. But you guys have been incredibly generous over the past few weeks, and I want you to continue that generosity because I obviously want to grow the stream and blah, 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 blah. But if it's a choice between getting a 6-pack and giving me $5, keep the money, buy yourself a 6-pack, and drink it in my memory, okay? Not that I'm dead yet. Just, drink it in my honor, I suppose.
Okay. Go ahead, Tali, please.
I guess I just so what comes next then? So Destiny, I really am with you that this is.
Oh, there we go. 6.5 millimeter Grendel said civic nationalist. Okay, based.
Like to both sides, this is not an accurate portrayal of what's going on. I find myself very frustrated that so many people on the right can't bring themselves to also just de-escalate. And overwhelmingly, Democratic politicians and Democratic center lib whatever influencers have been calling this out and have seemed justifiably horrified. It kind of seems like it's only a certain segment of the left even that is really feeding this ugly machine, but why not denounce? I mean, as I think maybe Dev pointed out on Twitter earlier, I don't know if he said it in his opening, but these are people who are like barely voting with the Democrats anyway. They want violence against the libs as much as they want violence against, the
Who cares about them? We can talk about them later. The problem we have right now is the president of the United States is pushing us to civil war. Why the fuck would I talk about a bunch of irrelevant tankies that don't even vote?
Because it should be easy to call out bad behavior. Why should I tell people not to beat their wives when somebody else is committing murder? Why should I tell people not to trespass when somebody else shoplifted? It's fucking stupid. It's so fucking stupid. It's so stupid.
Sure, and I agree. The president has a problem too, but what I hear you saying is that essentially like the people like you, left of center people, libs also can't back down from this fight because the other side isn't taking their lighter away. But then so where is that going to get us? Then there's still
we'll go to civil war.
Tally's right.
Or we fight. What do you mean?
So then
that sounds like you're endorsing it, Steven, you fucking idiot. All right, let's pay attention because I'm sure that Steven's going to say like, I don't want a civil war, but if the right wing wants a civil war, then we have to civil war, which again is basically just escalating rhetoric and very stupid. Very stupid. Very stupid. I'm just going to go back to my drawing in case this one gets clipped out of context. So let's go back to my drawing. It's an iron gauntlet in a velvet glove. Here's the velvet glove. Here's the iron gauntlet. You need to be ready that if they bring up their gun, you blast them in the face. Okay. However, you need to have your hand outstretched to work together as brothers. And if they bring up this hand to shake your hand, you shake their hand. If they bring up this hand to shoot you in the face, then you shoot them in the face. It's actually like super simple. Diplomacy first and always. Jesus.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead towards civil war. Like
sure.
what kind
civil
of
war is
better
than extinction, right? What do you mean? What kind of a solution is that?
Are we on the verge of extinction, Steven?
It's up to the other
say
side. You can't
extinction, but
choose to have both people go to civility. That's not a choice that one person can make. One person can choose to either fight or be made extinct. And right now,
I'm all for defensive violence, but I don't think anybody is saying don't be defensively violent. What we're saying is, God damn it, Stephen. Sorry for cussing so much, but this drives me crazy. What we're saying is focus on this. Focus on diplomacy. And if we need to go that other way, then we'll go that other way. Okay? But focus on this, because we don't want to go this other way. This other way is bad for us. And by the way, I'm using us loosely here. I'm pretty much had a conversation with North, had a private conversation with North. I'm recommitting to being on the center right because this needs to reform. Absolutely. Like the Republican Party needs to reform. And I think I need to be a part of that reform. But anyways, the point is that you always lead with this, Stephen. Always and always and always and always. I will repeat it until I throw up today if I need to. Saying, no, we should put our hands down because fuck them. Well, that just almost guarantees that you're both going to shoot each other in the face. Childish diplomacy.
now that's what, if the other side chooses to fight, those are your only options. So that's all you can do, right?
You say made extinct. Okay, but so you're leaving out the again, we're doing it.
The entire spectrum of violence. Yes, you're leaving out the entire spectrum of violence, Stephen.
It's bizarre the analogies we're making here because we're kind of talking about rhetoric online, and then we're also talking about actual violence in real life. But
what do you think
whole, like,
what do you mean we're talking about rhetoric versus actual violence? What do you think politics is?
Because what I'm saying, when you say I'm not trying to say that these things are entirely separate, but when you say we're facing facing possible extinction, do you mean that in a literal sense?
Eventually it'll get there. Yeah, we're getting closer and closer. But yeah, if that we've played this game over and over again. I'm sure most of you on this panel watch me go on Piers and have the same argument a year ago, where every time something happens, the right either makes a conspiracy theory, doesn't own their side, or they blame the left, or they want civil war. The left denounces and cucks out. Dodd just got fired for saying that Charlie Kirk's rhetoric played into this. He got fired from MSNBC. Give me a break, right? And we're just going to keep doing this over and over again. Well, Donald Trump is literally encouraging violence.
Right. All right. Rather than repeat my talking point, I'm going to show you something else, because somebody in chat said, this isn't 2006 anymore. AR-15s are $1,000. Palmetto State Armory. All right, I get it. Palmetto State has mixed quality. Okay, I understand they have mixed quality. But if you go to PSA, PA-15, best sellers, top rated, price low to high. Here's all the parts. Let's find the original one. Let's find out. Let's get past parts. Maybe I need to skip a few pages ahead. Jesus, how much parts do you have? I only want rifles. Can I filter? Price, low to high, grilled view, complete guns. There we go. Okay. $729, $899, $449, $469, $379, $479, $449, $499, $519, $1299, $489, $469. Now you can say that these are trash rifles, but do you know how you figure out weapons quality in a company with mixed quality control? You buy a $500 rifle and you run 1,000 rounds through it. And if it breaks, you send it back to the company for a replacement. Then you run 1,000 rounds through that. And then if that gun works flawlessly, you keep that gun. Rather than spend $2,000 on a Daniel defense, which means that you'll never be able to afford it, which means you'll never get one. So I would infinitely rather people buy cheap weapons that are mixed quality, but then they go train with those weapons and they do their own quality control, rather than never buying anything. You caught me.
Like over and over again, it's insane. It's insanity. Like, yeah, people should fight back until the other side stops. I mean, like, what else? Yeah, what else are you gonna do? Just sit there and just keep getting killed over and over and over again, figuratively, metaphorically, literally? I mean,
but I guess what just confuses me the most is, like, I feel like the most recent arc we just went down was the liberals need to kick out the crazy lefties because they
And by the way, I think this is the perfect opportunity to do so. This is one of the things that also pisses me off about Steven's rhetoric so far. What a perfect moment to kick out the far lefties. What a perfect moment to say violent revolutionary leftists are not a part of our movement and fuck them for making this country worse. So easy. So easy. So easy to say. This guy is based off of preliminary digital forensics, is a democratic socialist, that he is a revolutionary leftist, that it's like a Game of Thrones clip that I watched recently. It's like we strip him of lands and titles. We strip him of lands and titles. He is not a part of our movement. Fuck him. Fuck the Charlie Kirk shooter. What an easy layup for liberals to be like, yep, he's not a part of us. He's a piece of shit and he deserves to die / be incarcerated. Cogger, yes. The community of Grill Hottest. For those of you who are newer initiates, we got 200 people cross-platform right now. I parasocially love you for being here. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. But we are known as the community of Grill Hottists, okay? Grill Hottism is a simple philosophy. It's that we will engage in horrific politics and violence in order to defend Americans' right to grill. Okay? Your right to be happy and secure in your home with your family, cooking food together in a white picket fence style level of corny happiness is something that is worth militantly fighting for. And so whether you're center left or center right, I identify as center right, you are entitled to that dream. And we will do anything and everything as a community to help you realize that dream. So we are the cog.
Don't help electorally, and they go out and do crazy stuff, and then they cheer each other on. And I know you can try and denounce it as, oh, it's 6-follower blue sky accounts, but I mean,
we do need to denounce it, but that's not what this conversation is about. The only reason why those people have
Asai, real quick, we'll get back to it, but Asai Garcia says, hey, Connor, I just started watching you for the past month. I remember you from a panel a few years ago and wanted to hear a conservative voice that hasn't gone off the deep end. I'm doing my best, but you guys are driving me crazy. Camille says, I'm a DGGer, and DGG is becoming emotional and violent. This will backfire. True. Ved's Neil says, fuck leg day. I'm being on ice cream cone. That's an option.
so much like say or sway is because of how dominant they are on social media, because the right likes to point them out all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly, you can look at the political strategy of doing that. It is effective.
Sorry, chat keeps being interesting, so I keep pausing every 5 seconds. I know that fucks up the flow, but you guys keep saying interesting shit. Squad Wiper says, I would train with an AR, but I'm pretty sure my terms of release bar me from using those. Okay, let me show you another thing. These are called AEA air guns. They are legal for you to own. They shoot 25 caliber, 30 caliber, 50 caliber, and 1 caliber weapons at like 500 to 1,000 feet per second. Not only can you kill squirrel and likely deer, but some of these AEA air guns, ballistic torso, some of these are powerful enough that you can 100% obliterate a torso or a skull. So while, is this ideal for self-defense? No. But if you're a felon or you're on parole and you still want to engage in legal, hear me now, legal self-defense, there are air guns and black powder that you are legally allowed to own as a felon, prohibited from other weapons. Also, you are allowed to own as a felon black powder revolvers. These are like 150 years old. They oftentimes have percussion caps that you put on the tip, and you have to put powder and a ball into them. But if you want to keep one of these inside your home, that way, if some dickhead breaks into your house and you want to blow a golf ball sized hole in their chest, this is also another legal opportunity for you. Look at this. Percussion caps, probably 30 to 50 caliber ball, powder. You are allowed to defend yourself. Okay? So, if you need to resort to a black powder weapon or an air gun in order to defend yourself or in order to train, I recommend following the law, but still training to defend yourself.
Because when you're, I mean, we can all agree, and it's anger is what sells and whatnot. But I feel like
it's anger that sells the Republican Party. The Republican Party is driven by spite and vitriol and hatred more today than at any point in my lifetime. It's just not even close to what it used to be like. Could you imagine Donald Trump being the president after like 9/11 or? He's incapable. He's not effective as a leader. He's incapable of leading. Every conversation you have with a conservative is constantly saying, well, he's funny, LOL, the jokes are cool, who cares what he says? Like, he's not a
Thank you, Rencan.
good leader. This is what the conservatives have wanted the entire time.
But I guess that's what I'm just trying to get towards. And like, I think we can all agree, right? It's when.
Sorry, you guys keep saying things that piss me off. Uriel says, Connor, why do you give charity for Trump not being responsible as leader of the country to talk the entire nation to calm down the rhetoric? It will drop the temperature immediately because he's not going to do it. I'm not giving him charity, Uriel. I'm saying he's not going to do it. So you don't control Trump. I don't control Trump. MAGA doesn't control Trump. Trump controls Trump. So we can try to influence as many Republicans as possible and say, hey, yeah, Steven joking about dead people is fucked up. And he's being an asshole on panels. But that's not as bad as 70% of your alternative media pundits braying for civil war. And so as a result, we want you to stop braying for civil war. And we will be ready for defensive, legal violence. Okay? We will be ready for defensive, legal violence. We will always work with you as brothers in America, trying to make the United States a better place. But if you try to install Trump as a dictator, or if you try to shoot us in the face extra legally, we will defend ourselves. It's that simple. It's so simple. You don't control this, okay? You don't even control this. You control whether or not you as a member of this tribe choose to engage in this style of diplomacy and defensive violence. You only control you. 6.5 millimeter Grendel became a member. Thank you kindly.
When we look at these crazy individuals, and yes, it's anonymous 6-follower accounts on Blue Sky, but it's also non-anonymous larger accounts. I can pull. I was screenshotting them today just to see if we need to go through them. Just pretty much everyone I saw where it's 500,000, million plus, and not just Hassan. It's other. I don't know how these people get their followings, but dishing out the same kind of rhetoric and cheering each other on. And so if that's the crowd, I think that's the crowd that we should all agree is like a crowd that deserves no place in the.
We all agree with
process.
that.
Okay. Enjoy the content. My dog was left outside by my wife, who took my kid to some place to have fun. So I need to go let my dog in. I'll be back in 60 seconds.
They don't have a place in the political process. They're not in Congress. They're disavowed by all of our leadership. They don't exist except for in the Twitter retweets of conservatives that are trying to make them a bigger deal than they are.
So then explain to me how in the day after the election, when you're on there with Brian Tyler Cohen and all the other folks that were in that call, and you're specifically talking about we need to jettison these pro-pallies that threw the election for Trump, which, by the way, if I was on the left, that would piss me off. I'd probably kill myself if that was the case. If we're losing elections because these crazies think, yeah, do what they're going to do. But if that's not the fight that the internal fight the left is trying to go through right now, is we need to kick out these pro-pally crazy far left, just whatever term you want to use for it. But now it's like and of course we have more to learn about the shooter, but from what it seems, it's going to be someone who is obviously not a fan and it would presumably puts them onto the left and puts them into this category. Why are we like focusing on,
hold on,
it's the right.
Did you vote for Donald Trump on all 3 times?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you watch Charlie Kirk's neck explode when the fucking blood came gushing out after he got shot?
Yeah.
Do you accept that you voted for that?
No.
Okay, then you're fucking delusional. There's no reason to have this conversation. I don't know why. I don't know why. Why are we talking about the radical left right now when the president of the United States, a guy who has done violent rhetoric over and over again, who has pardoned every single person that he can that's involved with violent crime on the right, you voted for this. This is what you wanted. This is what you want. This is what you voted for, and this is where we are now. Why the fuck we talking about the far left? I don't give a fuck about Hassan of the far left right now. The leader of the United States, the ex-leader of the free world, I don't know what the United States does right now, will not disavow violence. When the people on Fox and Friends are begging him to disavow, he won't do it. Why the fuck are we talking about tankies?
I guess I just reject that we're pinning this on one person. I think you can understand this is a much broader problem.
No, it's
we
not.
can agree.
No, it's
we
not.
can agree. No,
No,
hold on.
You're just lying.
We can agree Trump may have the biggest impact as being the president. I'll agree with you there. But this is just such a bigger problem
No,
than any
it's
one
not.
individual
The
person.
problem is Donald Trump. That's the
Bullshit. Whoever this guy is, I'm not saying I agree with everything he says. I don't accept Steven's argument. I really don't. This is about like collectivism and materialism and consequentialism versus individualism. And you just have to accept the fact that we are, to some degree, individual actors. We are not capable of controlling other people. And while we can socially, we don't control them. We only control ourselves. And so Steven is doing the same fucking argument. Trump's bigger. I'm just an uwu cutesy small boy. I'm just a podcaster. I'm just this. I'm just that. So if Donald Trump's engaging in bad behavior, I can engage in bad behavior too. That's all he's arguing, and I find it unconvincing is the best way that I can say it. Now I'm going to share with you real quick because I'm going to continue to eat on stream, which is a horrible habit, and I hate myself. However, it was somebody's birthday this weekend. I will not tell you whose, but it was somebody's birthday, and I have birthday cake. And even though it's going to give me heartburn, if there is chocolate cake in front of me, I will be eating chocolate cake. And so, I'm going to eat chocolate cake. Let's go.
problem. He's signing off the violence on the right. There's a reason why every 7 out of 10 of the largest protests in U.S. history have happened on his watch over the past 5 years of his presidency. Like, it's not a coincidence. At some point, you have to wake the fuck up and realize that the voting's not a meme, that his rhetoric isn't a joke, that all the memes about invading Chicago and deploying the National Guard and bombing Iran and calling it the Department of War and invading Greenland and Panama, at some point, you have to wake the fuck up and go, maybe this is actually not a meme. Maybe it's not funny. Maybe I should probably rethink when I'm voting to watch people like Charlie Kirk get assassinated on Streamable. Like, it's,
Okay. I agree that the violent rhetoric coming out of the Trump administration is bad and should be disavowed and shouldn't be excused. I don't think that excuses left-wing bad behavior.
I don't know what it takes to wake you guys up to it. The fact that you want to come here and talk about tankies is just insane to me when your own leader of the United States of America won't just simply say, hey, everybody should stop killing people.
Deb, you wanted to say something real quick? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that it's probably easy to look back at 2016.
Thank you. Andrew says he put in the Barney song, and I agree with Andrew. I love you. You love me. We're a happy family with a great big hug from me to you. Won't you say you love me too? And that's what I'm saying. Okay? We need to sing the Barney song, and we need to be ready to shoot each other in the face. This might actually be contradictory for some people, but it's not to me. It's not to me in the slightest. The Marine Corps, during counterinsurgency operations, when I went to boot camp in 2006, they were saying, no better friend, no worse enemy. That was the entire training thing, which was no better friend. We will work with you diplomatically. If you want to fight jihadists with us, we'll back you. We'll give you monetary support. We'll give you weapons. We'll give you training. We'll fight alongside you. We'll kick in the doors right next to you. If you were somebody, an Iraqi or an Afghan operating in the war on terror, there was no better friend than a United States Marine. But if you declare yourself an enemy, and you say, fuck you, I'm going to kill you, then we'll call in airstrikes on you. We'll call in drones on you. We'll engage in counterinsurgency operations. We'll kick down your door in the middle of the night. We'll rip apart your network of jihadists. We will hunt you down to the ends of the earth. There is no worse enemy than a pissed off 19-year-old Marine with a bayonet on an M16A2 ancient fucking rifle. The Navy SEALs might have all the Gucci gear and the night vision, quad tube night vision goggles. I would rather fight a fucking pussy ass, silk haired Navy SEAL who thinks that he's the best person in the world rather than a 19-year-old pissed off Marine with a 40-year-old rifle and a bayonet, because the Navy SEAL will shoot you. The Marine will gut you with his bayonet and laugh as he kills you. So anyways, while I go on my crazy Marine rant, the whole point is diplomacy first and always. Violence as a last resort.
16 or 20.
Making me tap the sign.
2020 and say that this is a recent development of Trump's, but it's really not, right? I looked this up. I looked up the text of this because I wanted to make sure I wasn't just going off my memory. In August of 2016, when he was still running against Hillary, he said, I'll just read it exactly. He said, Hillary wants to essentially abolish the Second Amendment. And by the way, if she gets to pick her judges, there's nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know. Now that sounds like a veiled call to shoot Hillary if she wins the presidency.
Yep.
So this is something that Trump's been doing for a while. It's not some new thing that he's been radicalized into or the right wing has been radicalized into. This has always been here. It was hidden with memes, and a lot of people fell for it when it was hidden with memes, but it's always been here.
So I guess my question then is, if you think that that's the case and that Donald Trump is pushing us to civil war and that we really can't de-escalate, what next? What should we do?
Well, it's not going to be a civil war. I disagree with Destiny on that. It's not going to be a civil war.
Yeah, I think there's going to be like terrorism and assassinations, but it's not going to be uniformed parties engaged in armed conflict. I agree with Dev.
But it's going to be more like Italy's years of lead. It's going to be more.
Yes, or the Irish Troubles. Yes, SFO. Jazz hands for SFO. Jazz hands for Dev.
Like Ireland's the Troubles.
Yes.
We're going to have like 10 years, maybe 20 years of sectarian violence that's essentially random, and then things will calm down eventually after basically the revolutionary people age out of the system. Like whenever you see, like it happened in Spain, it happened in Portugal, whenever you see countries go through violence like this, you don't really get to de-escalate. You have to work through it. It sucks, but here you are.
Well, heck, it was the 60s and 70s here, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't as bad as the years of lead in Italy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Go ahead, Tali, please.
Am I just hearing a prescription then from you, Dev, also of like essentially accelerationism? Like it's gonna get bad. There's no way to de-escalate. So
we're not.
left
It's
should just-
accelerating.
No.
It's not acceleration like we're accelerating it. Donald Trump is accelerating it. There's nothing we can do to stop it. You can't decelerate from one side.
Yeah, yes, you can. I'm going to prove this to you because somebody repeated it in chat, and I think it's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. Sorry, Steve. Okay. I'll glaze Steven before criticizing the shit out of Steven, okay? Steve. Okay. He's intelligent. He's rhetorically gifted. He's an excellent debater. He does decent research. That doesn't mean he is impervious from being fucking wrong. Okay? You can't decelerate from one side is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. And I'll show you why. So, Tricky Parrot points out that if they do a drive-by, they won't even need to leave air conditioning. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I agree with Dev that it's going to be more like the Irish Troubles than it's going to be like anything else. It's going to be random political assassinations, random bombings, random property damage, but it's not going to be armed militant groups in the streets duking it out. Random says, got my own opinions, but what would you say to the people saying God saved Trump killing the other guy, then by some logic letting Kirk die? Well, number one, I wouldn't say shit to him because I'm not trying to piss them off. But what I would say is that there is a logic to God revealing good things even through bad things. So Charlie Kirk getting murdered doesn't mean that's not part of God's plan. It could be God's plan, quote unquote, to reveal a greater justice and a greater mission to humanity through Charlie Kirk's death. You have to bear in mind that this line of thinking actually says that God became a man and died on purpose in order to show humanity a new moral philosophy. You have to understand that. So death is a part of Christianity as much as anything else. But anyways, what he said, deceleration. Yeah. This is where Steven's being a fucking autist and it's pissing me off. All right. Here's one car. If my, what's your problem? All right, here's a car. Here's a car. Here's a car. And it's driving. Okay. It's not that great of a car, but it's good enough for me for the purposes of our example. And I've already explained this once, but I need DGG to understand this or else they're going to piss me the fuck off. Can I select this and copy it? Can I copy and paste? And then can I move it? And then can I invert it? That would be fantastic. How do I invert this? Flip horizontal, flip vertical. Rotate 90 degrees, rotate 180. Nope, that wasn't it. That wasn't it. Forward. Ah, shit. All right. Well, shit. I need to try that again. Sorry, guys. Just chill while I'm figuring this out. Flip. Oh, there we go. There we go. Boom. Perfect. And then let me copy this and move this down. So what Steven is saying, which is so fucking stupid, it bends my mind. And I know Steven's a smart guy, so I'm not saying Steven isn't smart. I know Steven's a good guy, so I'm not saying Steven isn't, a good guy, or whatever the fuck you want me to say. That way I sufficiently glaze him that he doesn't get fucking ass mad. Not him necessarily, but like DGGers get fucking ass mad, and then they go to Steven and they're like, Connor was talking crazy shit. Fuck him. Fuck him. He needs to die. He doesn't understand anything. He's such a fucking stupid piece of shit. Because trust me, I know that I have like strong DGG crossover, but I also know that there's plenty of people in DGG who do not like my analysis and do not like my rhetoric and do not like my personality. All right. So what I'm saying and what most people are saying is that this is a car crash, a head-on car crash that is waiting to happen. And so anybody who has half a fucking brain should be able to understand the next sentence, which is that if you go 60 miles an hour into the head-on of another car, then this is the equivalent of hitting a brick wall at 120 miles an hour, and you guys will liquefy your fucking guts as you get smashed through the windshield. Whereas, if you slow down and the other person doesn't slow down, let's say that we get to 0 before, then this is a 60 mile an hour car crash, and it's going to be less severe. Now, can you die in a 60 mile an hour car crash? Absolutely, you can die in a 60 mile an hour car crash. But are you guaranteed to die in a 120 mile an hour head-on car crash? Absolutely. And so what we're saying, or what I'm saying, and what a healthy chunk of other people are saying, is within the dynamics of violence, diplomacy first, but be ready to shoot someone in the face. But also go ahead and decelerate because you want to try to survive this accident. And if they don't, let's say that the right wing is suicidally determined to do this, everybody will know that the accident is their fault. You decelerated. Okay? You did what you were supposed to do. And what should happen is that some people on the right wing, because they're not a monolith, they can see some people on the left decelerating and they can go, oh shit, we don't need to have a head-on car crash. Let's not do a 120 mile an hour car crash. Let's decelerate as well. And then let's do a little kiss. Okay, let's do a little kiss in the middle. Let's do a bumper kiss. Okay? This should be fairly obvious to anybody with a fucking brain who doesn't outsource their thinking to Stephen Bennell II. So let's do one side can't decelerate. Yes, they can. Stephen is being obtuse. What a perfect drawing. God, I love Microsoft Paint.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
So the only option is to
Fight.
fire with fire?
And hope they stop. Yeah.
I guess, like, fight in what way do you mean, Destiny?
Whatever way.
guess
I don't know.
that's the
Whatever
question.
way people want to. What do you mean? What do you think is the solution? What do you think would happen if the Democrats were to disavow? Tell me what you think would happen if the Democrats were to disavow, like
Most of them have, Stephen, so you already lost that battle.
they've been doing for the past 10 years.
Democrats, right? They are disavowing.
And what's
I guess,
happened?
like,
Yup.
my problem is, I'm not saying things have gotten better. Obviously, I'm not saying things have gotten better, but I just don't see how, like, saying, well, if the right's going to do whatever they want, I guess the left should do whatever they want too. I don't see how that makes anything better.
Are you,
True. Thank you, Tally.
aren't you? You're a huge, like, pro-Israel person, right?
Yes.
Should Israel just lay down all their arms when Hamas invades and let them take over?
Nobody's saying that, Stephen. No one said Israel lay down your arms. This is a straw man. He should know better. No one, not me anyways, maybe there's some pussy fucking wine moms. Maybe some pussy wine moms are saying, let's get rid of the guns, and they're willing to unilaterally disarm. I'm not saying that. Tally's probably not saying that. Wick's probably not saying that. So if he repeats this line of argumentation, I will genuinely view it as bad faith. We're not saying lay down your arms. We're saying diplomacy first, be ready to shoot them in the face. Even with the Israel-Palestine example, does Israel need to commit genocide in order to support itself? Like, almost no sane person believes that. Israel doesn't need to commit genocide to survive as a nation. Israel can do exactly what I was talking about with counterinsurgency operations in Gaza, where you build back Gaza by 10% in order to restore the Gazan population back to Gaza and then try to have a diplomatic thing. They can 100% follow my exact prescription. Diplomacy first, be ready to shoot your enemy in the face. And this would be infinitely better. What Stephen is saying, because if he's going to straw man Tally, if he's going to straw man Wick, I'll straw man him. I'll present the weakest line of his argumentation. He's saying that no, Israel should go ahead and do genocide because realistically, you can't negotiate with Hamas anyways. And there's enough people within Gaza that support Hamas that you should do a genocide. That's effectively what he's saying. So no, this is bad argumentation. It's stupid optically. It's counterproductive. I firmly disagree. I think this is one of the worst lines of arguments that I've ever heard from Stephen. It's bad argumentation.
Over? Why not? Why do they keep contributing to the violence by fighting back?
Okay. Do we understand the difference that, like, okay, by fighting back is an umbrella term. Does anybody begrudge Israel or Jews within the current borders of the state of Israel if a Hamas terrorist starts shooting them on the bus? Do you think anybody begrudges a Jew pulling a concealed carry pistol and blowing the terrorist fucking head off? I don't think so. Maybe some crazy leftists begrudge a Jew for doing that because they think that they're settlers or whatever, but I don't. Whereas, do you think that if I see an IDF airstrike that targets exclusively civilians, that I can object to that behavior? The obvious answer is yes. These are not equivalent. Don't make them equivalent. A squad wiper says, let's watch Michael Knowles and Matt Walsh. They have normal, rational, well-adjusted takes. No, they're part of the problem too. They're 100% part of the problem. Christian Lair says, I do that on all your Warhammer reactions. That's based. For like watching it on silent on 2x speed, so you give me a full watch. Thank you. It didn't help that Destiny's opponents in this debate were weak as hell, bunch of mumbly, conceited points. Nah. Tally's saying what I would say. She might be a woman. You might be overlooking her because she's a woman, but she's saying what I would say.
No, because Hamas is making the everyday life of Israeli civilians puts that in jeopardy, right? So if
And not just that, it's also ruining the lives of the Palestinians who need to be segregated out from your targeting calculus.
if I felt that like literally my life was in jeopardy right now, walking down the streets as a liberal or as a gay person, that might be a different scenario. I don't feel like we're actually there yet.
What does it take? What city do you live in?
And I don't want to get there.
When Donald
Does it
Trump
take
is
what?
deploying the National Guard to DC for crime purposes, when
Which he can't and he won't because it's a violation of posse comitatus, and he's already backed off of that because of extra constitutional shit.
Donald Trump is using the National Guard against governor's consents in California. He's sending the Marines down there. When Donald Trump is deporting people sometimes at random, when he's invoking the Alien Enemies Act, like at what point are you like, maybe this is probably not a good thing. Maybe this is kind of unsafe.
I think
We all, like anybody who's sane, think that's a bad thing. I even think probably half of the right wing think that that's a bad thing.
we can say all of those things are not good things and that they're unsafe, and I don't know why the answer is again. So we should just be just as violent and disregarding of the Constitution, etc., as the right. I don't know. I don't see why that's the
Yep.
Because
That's
the
the
alternative
answer.
is just extinction.
No, it's not.
that again
So-
just feels like just extreme hyperbole to
What do you
me.
mean?
So if
What
Yep.
part is extreme hyperbole? Is Trump
So even like what Dev is
driving
saying,
more
that he's-
violence
he's
or not?
saying
Is Trump
He doesn't think that this is going to end. Yes, he is.
Okay.
His rhetoric.
Trump is
is-
driving extreme violence? Trump will never disavow violence on his side. The opposite of that, he's like,
And he's also out of, so we could vote in the midterms in order to nullify his power, and then we can vote him out in 28. That's not extinction, Stephen. It's not extinction.
actually pardoned every single person he could that's been involved in violence on his side, right?
Every single person's probably
Jesus Christ. Grassroots Hegemon with 20 gifted subs. You are too kind to the channel. I parasocially love you. Thank you, King.
a stretch, but certainly.
All the J6ers, at least, and the people that were convicted of seditious conspiracy and everybody involved in his campaigns that have lied on his behalf and helped to do.
It's not a point that I'm trying to fight.
Okay, so he's done that. He continues to signal to people that violence is okay. He's talked about using the military to go to cities, whether the governors or the mayors like it or not. Like at what point do we wait for the soldiers to start shooting and they're like, wow, guys, I think maybe.
No, you start training now. I hate the straw man. I hate the straw man. I hate the straw man, dude. Steven's so much better than this. This actually pisses me off. If this was an episode of something else, I would be yelling at him right now. No, you train for defensive violence. You get an AR-15. But listen, you go to PSA. We already did this earlier. You go to Palmetto State Armory. You buy a $500 AR-15, you buy 1,000 rounds of ammunition, you run it through the gun, you see if you have a good gun. If you have a good gun, you keep it. If you have a bad gun, you send it back to PSA for them to work on it and send it back to you. Then you get a Mossberg 500. These things are also super cheap. As a matter of fact, you don't even get a Mossberg. A Mossberg is $500. You get a Maverick 88, which is $200. It's made in Mexico, and it's a Mossberg clone made by Mossberg, but it's manufactured in Mexico. And it's a cheap, reliable pump gun for $200. And then you get a Glock 19, okay? A Glock 19 is a reliable, concealable catch-all gun where if something was getting hot in your neighborhood, then you could concealed carry this every single day comfortably. And if your neighborhood is safe and peaceful and quiet and there's no civil war, then you can keep it in your house. And this is a reliable defensive pistol. And then what you do is you go to the range once a month, once every 2 months, once a quarter, and you train with firearms. That way you're not weak and stupid and a rabbit for other people to purge, right? Like a rabbit. Being harmless is not virtuous. Being peaceful, being capable of violence, but being peaceful is virtuous. It's called strikos. It's a Greek concept from the Bible. The meek shall inherit the earth. Strikos, allegedly, is a Greek term referring to disciplined war horses. So it doesn't mean incapable of violence. It means restrained. So the restrained will inherit the earth. So be capable of great violence, be competent within the realm of violence, but do not engage in extra-legal or extrajudicial violence. Engage in defensive violence. If somebody wishes harm upon you and yours, do what you need to do. And no conservative, no Republican worth their salt will criticize defensive violence. You could have a MAGA militia kicking your front. You could be like you could be a Kano boy. You could be like a socialist, sock dem, lefty, uwu soft boy, and a MAGA militia who have done everything but physically fillet Donald Trump could kick down your door and you could blast them. And 99% of the right wing will say, well, the MAGA militia was on my side, but realistically, you have a right to defend yourself. Good for you. 99% of the American right will praise you for defending yourself. As long as you're defending yourself. Sorry. Is it considered shilling if the left genuinely wants a safer gun-free world? Well, I think you're pussies then. And you are advocating, if you want a safer gun-free world, if you want to eliminate civilian firearms ownership, then I think you genuinely want to delete this firearm. You want the right wing to be armed because they're currently in political power and you want them to have guns and you want them to be able to shoot you in the face, but you don't want to be able to shoot back. And I think that's weak as hell. No offense to Squad Wiper, but that is pusillanimous. I'm not saying that's a perspective that you have. You could just be arguing somebody else's perspective, but I think that perspective is pusillanimous. Red Hat says, wish there was someone on this panel more capable of countering Steven's unhinged position. Don't worry. I'll DM him and ask for a something else episode. I'll say, hey, cool off for the next couple of weeks, and then we'll go ahead and chat about this little perspective.
Maybe telling people to bring the temperature down, maybe that wasn't enough.
So then if we're at the point, though, where it's extinction, it's fight or extinction, that you're saying this is the only two options on the left right now, I guess. It's
really not. There's about 1 billion options.
It's just direct question. Is someone justified in killing Donald Trump?
We're not going to do Fed. I'm not Fed posting right here. We're not doing that.
It seems like you went right up to the line of Fed posting, Steven.
But if we were on a different platform, maybe we could do a little bit of... I already got like 20 FBI agents. I already got 20 FBI agents who's watching all the time, so...
How hard is it to say that engage in legal defensive violence? How hard is that? Yeah, I'm actually annoyed with Steven right now. Yeah, this is very dumb. I would Fed post if I could. Okay, so you're saying that reciprocal, extrajudicial, extra-legal violence, that's the only way that I can interpret this. Now, if he wants to walk that back, if he wants to have a something else episode on Kick, and he can say whatever he wants to say, and he says like, no, still like still legal violence, still defensive violence. If you want to say that, that's fine. But if you want to Fed post or allude to Fed posting, I have to assume that you're saying extra legal, extrajudicial violence is okay. That's the only thing that I can presume from what he just said, which is bullshit. It's total bullshit.
Okay. So it's hard to have this conversation without at least... Oh, sorry, I'm muted on my end.
Yep.
It's hard to have this conversation without...
Hold on. L is for luck says, I understand the situation from a personal sibling abuse standpoint. The only time my brother stopped doing violent as aggressive is when I fight back. The house gets messier, but it happens less often. L is for luck. But within this own analogy, let's say that your brother or whoever's bullying you or whatever the fuck, let's say that they just like walk up to you in the hallway and they punch you in the fucking nuts. Okay. So then you're like, oh, okay, well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So you just walk around the neighborhood or you just walk around the household and you're not just punching your brother in the nuts, who's the person who punched you in the nuts. You punch your dad and your mom in their genitals as well, because you're like, oh, hey, he's doing it, so I can do it. He's doing it to me, so I can do it to everybody in this house. You walk up to your dog and you kick him in the testicles because you're like, hey, he's doing it. I can do it. I can do it. Obviously, that's a stupid fucking thing to do, right? Sorry for using so much profanity, but that's obviously stupid as shit, right? Whereas, let's say that your brother walks up and hits you in the fucking nuts and you fucking deck him in the face. You fucking jack him in his jaw. You jack him in his fucking nose. Is anybody going to criticize you for jacking him in the jaw or the nose for punching you in the nuts? No. Everybody's going to view it as justified because you're engaged in legal and moral defensive violence. There's obviously a difference. And the fact that you guys are pretending there isn't, you need. So, Stephen, a few years ago, back when I was arguing that Hunter Biden was something that I actually cared about, he said, you need to get Trump's cock out of your mouth, not realizing that I've been one of the most ardent anti-Trump Republicans for the past, like, I don't know, decade. So he's kind of dumb. But if you are finding that none of my arguments are getting through to you to the point that you at least understand them on a logical basis, and you just 100% agree with Steven that you should be able to, like, from an analogous perspective, because your brother punches you in the nuts, you should be able to punch your mom and your dad and your dog in the testicles. You're fucking stupid, and you're not thinking. You're letting Steven think for you, and then you're pretending that you have a personality and a brain. Okay?
Out at least in a video game or hyperbolically or something discussing this. And I understand we don't want to.
Well, stop here. Well, not in a video game. Hold on. Wait.
Real
Can I ask a question? Real question. Hold on. For Gen Z attorney and Telly, do you recognize that Donald Trump's statements today like increase the chances of me getting murdered at the next event that I do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are we saying
Donald Trump today was asked
I don't know what-
he was asked on like multiple times on Fox and Friends. They asked him, "Will you tell people on the right who want revenge that they shouldn't do that?"
Hold on, Death Lily. Wrong. Fucking DGG sweet much? Bro, you can die from a 30-mile-an-hour crash. Your analogy is crap. Dems aren't pushing the speed. Holy shit. No, fuck you, Death Lily. Listen, I love you. Thank you for being here. Steven is saying, keep going. Steven's saying they're doing 60. We need to do 60 until they slow down. So no, you either don't understand your dad's arguments or you don't understand your own dad's arguments. Your dad is saying, yeah, we're going to keep doing 60 until they stop doing 60. So no, you're wrong. You're sweeping. You're like finding any reason to not contend with this being perfectly analogous to what Steven is saying. So no, you're wrong. Don't sweep for your dad. Think for yourself.
That he wouldn't say no. He said the opposite. He said, well, we could fight at the ballot box, but all the voting is rigged. So do you acknowledge that Donald Trump is saying things right now that direct?
Okay, if I keep saying R slur and you guys say that I need to say the real one, sorry. Valor Media Network. I'm gonna show you something. You guys are super annoying. Sorry, I love you, but you're being super annoying. Okay. Now the metrics on Valor Media Network are a little rough. They could be better, but every now and then a banger pops out, gets a few thousand views, whatever. But if we go to videos, okay, let's go to live real quick. For live, it's a sports show and it's me being a schizophrenic. Okay, that's what's happening here. We got 500 views, 1,000 views, 600 views. We started out a little slow, but then we started getting into like the thousands, 1,000, 1,200, 3,000. And then now, because Charlie Kirk got shot, God bless him. May God bless and keep him. I'm not being sarcastic, but we're normally averaging around 1,000 to 1,500 views or whatever on the VODs. We break out to 2K every now and then, 2K, 1K, 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 which I'm fine with, right? Because I have like 200 live stream viewers. So getting like 1,000 post-recorded views is fine. And this isn't even the VOD channel. The VOD channel performs middling because I think most people watch the VODs through here. But we got 3K for Charlie Kirk was murdered. We got almost 5K for Nick Fuentes reaps what he sows. Okay. So this is doing okay. But this is schizophrenic online politics with lots of ableist and racial and sexual slurs. Okay. That's what this is. Whereas if you go here, it's some Never Trump content, a CEO talking about how he ran his business to two guys who are very kind and talk about spiritual and psychological healing. It's a guy running like a local radio show that he happens to put on YouTube. There's a girl talking about how porn destroys your brain. There's like wholesome Chungus, improve your life content over here. And so you guys saying that I should just go unhinged when I'm already unhinged, and I should just use a bunch of crazy slurs, which these guys are not into. What you're telling me is you're telling me to screw over my coworkers. So no, I'm not going to screw over my coworkers. I'm going to get a little edgy. I'm going to say a few crazy things every now and then, but I'm not going to have them email these guys and be like, hey, you run a wholesome Chungus TV show and you're on the same network as somebody who uses ableist slurs. Do you disavow? That's so cringe, bro. If I have to not use, if I can use a lot of profanity and some slurs, but not specifically one slur that somebody asked me not to use, then I'm not going to use the one slur that somebody asked me not to use. So no, don't pressure me to be worse than I am with my language. I'm already bad enough, and if I talked this way in front of my mother, she would wash my mouth out with soap. Okay?
Directly lead to an increased chance of me being in the next video for my next event.
Yeah.
I would probably agree too, but is it more so of an impact than a guy picking up a gun and going and killing Charlie Kirk at a public event?
And also, I think that Steven will get shot. Hopefully not. When Steven is shot, okay? If Steven is shot, hopefully not when, if Steven is shot, they're going to pull up all his clips the same way that they're pulling them up with Charlie right now. Shit, I did it. Charlie Kirk has this insane clip where he's like, yeah, you know what? Biden is so evil, he should be incarcerated for life or he should face the death penalty. And it's like, Jesus, this is your moderate? This is your chill guy? Your chill guy, your wholesome Chungus guy is calling for the death penalty to the sitting United States president? That's crazy pants. Well, Steven, guess what happens if Steven gets shot? Everybody's going to bring up the kids from Texas. Everybody's going to bring up his Muslim thing where he was talking about like mining the Kabbalah or whatever it is, the giant rock in the middle of Mecca. They're going to bring up the time that he was laughing at Corey Comparatori. They're going to bring up all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so yeah, Steven can say that Donald Trump is making it more likely that he's going to get shot. But do you know what would make it less likely for you to be shot? Not to be an edgy dumbass on the internet, right? And I understand that's part of the brand. It's part of the marketing is being outrageous. I get it. I understand. That's why he's a 5 to 10K live viewer and I'm a 200 viewer Andy. And when you twats get sick of me talking, I'll be 100 viewer Andy again, which by the way, shill. Like the stream, share with your friends, engage with chat, become a member of the community, join the Discord. It should be on the home YouTube channel. Oh, not on Valor Media Network. But if you go to Counterpoints Politics, it should be linked on the home YouTube channel. And then also super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. But you have to understand, like, no, Steven's part of the problem too, 100%. Now, what I don't like, though, is I don't like it when right-wingers are like, Destiny made a Wikipedia update joke. Isn't this just as bad as the Republicans calling for civil war? No, of course not. Of course not. Steven making an edgy joke about somebody else's death raises the temperature, but calling for civil war is infinitely worse. We can still call both bad. It's not hard. I just did.
Like what's more weighing in on that equation?
I don't know how that's relevant. I don't know if we can control every single individual person necessarily, but the president of the United States is the one driving the rhetoric right now.
Marcus Sullivan says, thanks for confirming that even you think anybody that doesn't like fascism is on the left in your mind. That's good to know. No, I'm anti-fascist, but you have to understand, Marcus Sullivan, this is so fucking annoying. You've said this shit 3 times and I feel like you're being obtuse. Okay. All right, fine. We're going to take time out of our day. Marco Sullivan has an Irish flag in his background. So since he's my cousin, I have to show him. Antifa. Antifa is short for anti-fascist. These guys are libertarian communists and socialists, maybe a few Marxist-Leninists mixed in, but they mostly view themselves as libertarian. And what they do is they dress up in black clothing. They wear a scarf or something to hide their face. They show up with improvised weapons and they try to beat the shit out of normies and they try to beat the shit out of fascists. But they think everybody's a fascist, so they're kind of fucking stupid, right? These are LARPing revolutionary dickheads who deserve to have the shit kicked out of them. Okay? So that's Antifa. If I Google black bloc Antifa, It's the same thing. That black bloc is just like a more specific term. Okay, they're Marxist, they're they're libertarian socialist, libertarian communist, but they beat the shit out of people. And this is Jack Posobiec, by the way. I hate this guy. I hate Jack Posobiec so much. All right. Anyways, and then here's, I don't know, World War II D-Day. Okay. These guys are liberals and Republicans, but even within the Republican framework, they're fighting for a liberal republic. So Americans, even in the early 20th century, even if they were racist, even if they were xenophobic, even if they were homophobic, even if they were transphobic, these were still liberals, okay? Capital L liberals, even if they were part of the Republican Party, okay? And so these guys are anti-fascist, lowercase anti-fascist, in the fact that they fought and killed fascists. So these guys are anti-fascist, right? However, if you ask in the modern connotation, hey, are you anti-fascist? They're not asking whether or not you're a liberal or a Republican who cares about the Republic of the United States. They're asking you if you're black bloc. So maybe you're ignorant of modern American politics. Maybe you're playing some kind of pedantic game where you want everybody to be fascist or anti-fascist, but you should know what I'm saying. When you saying, are you anti-fascist? It's like, I oppose the ideology of fascism, but I am not black bloc. I am not a libertarian socialist or a libertarian communist. So after this point, Mark O'Sullivan, I feel like I've explained myself in pedantic detail. So please tell me you understand, or else you are not smart enough to be part of my chat.
Now, for political assassinations.
And it's right now 100% purely responsive and reactionary to the fact that someone took a gun and went and killed Charlie Kirk at a public space at a
It's not right now. It's been since the quote that Dev had came from, I think was that before he was even elected? Or was it right after he was elected?
That was before.
Yeah, but so
how are you asking
It was
me?
August
How are you asking
2016.
me?
August 2016.
Okay, so how are you asking me?
Partisan says, since it's my analogy, allow me to clarify. Democrats are driving at 5 miles an hour and getting all the blame while Republicans are flying at 85 miles an hour while being in complete denial. Listen, I would say you're 50-30, okay? I would say Republicans are 50 miles an hour. I would say Democrats are 30 miles an hour. But I would say that they're using your 30 miles an hour as an excuse to drive 50. And what I mean by that is we did sins of the sides. We did this yesterday. Or we did this on Friday or Thursday, I forget. So, sins of the left wing. Put gays, black progressives, and annoying over-the-top messaging into video games and movies, trying to promote a degenerate, sex-positive, trans-positive, drug-positive, cynical, destructive, postmodern worldview. Taking over academia and popular culture to the point that they have alienated half of the population who feel like they are always presented as the enemy. Using liberal and progressive values to govern social media to the point that in the late 10s, it feels like you could not be a Christian, literalist, social conservative, pro-Trump person without being censored, or we should add election denialism and COVID, but that was the perception. Censoring COVID and election topics in the name of the greater good, leaving the border wide open, causing a migration crisis that has resulted in murders and rapes, prioritizing the economy and the profits of corporations over the well-being of your working and middle class. I would say this is neoliberals more than leftists, but you know what I'm saying. They're part of the left. Shrugging off crimes committed by ethno-religious minorities and sexual minorities while freaking out about every crime committed by a white straight man. BLM riots and deaths supported by the left. Steve Scalise shooting, which, by the way, I don't even remember. And then here's some more sins of the left. Trans drag people reading to children in sexually suggestive ways, the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, the successful assassination of Charlie Kirk, the attempted assassination of Nick Fuentes, canceling people without evidence and given no second chances, destroying jobs in social media platforms, trans genocide rhetoric, trying to destroy the First Amendment through hate speech legislation and trying to destroy the Second Amendment through gun control, cheering on the assassination of a healthcare CEO, shout your abortion, normalizing abortion as an elective and fun and funny process, white genocide propaganda, making an entire generation of young white men dumb as fuck. And while this was lifted on the sins of the left, the reason why is because whenever a white guy says, oh, wow, you want to make my race extinct? You go, oh, you want to make my race extinct? And you talk to them like they're a fucking moron. And you just say even more anti-white racist shit. So, yeah, I could go through the sins of the right, and I will tell you that the right wing is worse. That's why I voted the way that I voted. I'm not going to read all these for you, but they're on your screen if you want to pause and look at it. In my personal opinion, I think Donald Trump is going to be responsible for millions of deaths over the next 5 years as a result of his policies. So, yes, the right wing is worse. That does not mean you are without sin. Do not point out the twig in your enemy's eyes while you have a log in your own. Now, you can say, I have a twig in my eye and they have a log in theirs. But the point is, take the twig out of your own fucking eye. Go forth and sin no longer. It's so obvious. You don't even have to be religious. Take it as a metaphor. Take it as a mythological metaphor. The prescription, you guys are engaging in 3,000-year-old bad behavior that Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Cicero, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Jesus, Buddha, name a religious figure, and all of you guys are engaging in dog shit behaviors that they endlessly talked about for endless amounts of moral, philosophical stuff. But because half of you are anti-theist, atheist, ahistorical dipshits, you haven't learned lessons that were learned 3,000 years ago. And you're saying, why don't we just engage in the behavior of pagan shitheads from 3,000 years ago? And it's like, well, if you read any of the ancient philosophers, you would know why. So I'm over here trying to tell you ancient philosophy is telling you that you're wrong with obvious consequences. And you're like, no, I'm a new thing. I'm a cooler thing. I won't suffer the consequences of my bad behavior. And it's like, shut up. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. You're being stupid. You're being obtuse. You know half of this shit too. You know half of the shit I already said. You already know this dynamic of violence. You already know this this analogy works. What's going on, though, is that you want to engage in the Huxley quote. That's what you want to do. So for those of you who might have come in late, Huxley moral treats. This is what you want to do. You want me to say that it's okay for you to be able to destroy with good conscience, to be able to behave badly and call your behavior righteous indignation. This is the height of psychological luxury and the most delicious of moral treats. You want me to say that this is okay, so you can engage in bad behavior without guilt. And I'm not going to. I'm not going to. So good luck on your cringe little fucking crusade. I am not going to cheer on your cringe crusade. Grassroots Hegemon for $20 says, aside felons, the gooner furry shit, when they went, yes, the shooter was identified as terminally online, I went, oh, I'm also positive I didn't shoot Charlie Kirk. Oh, you thought it might have been you? Whoops. So, all right, I'm gonna go back to the content. I'm gonna write down this quote. It's a good quote.
We should turn down the rhetoric when there is a guy on all major media right now who's the president of my country who is saying things that is increasing the likelihood of me getting assassinated. Like, why the f would I have any...
Your response to it increases the likelihood that you'll be assassinated as well, right? When
no,
you
I don't
feed
think
into
so.
the narrative.
What? One of the good...
Get him, Wick! Get him!
The likelihood that you'll be assassinated as well, right? When
no, I don't
feed
think so.
into the narrative.
Yes, Stephen. Yes, when you make a Wikipedia... Oh my God, let's just go to Stephen's Twitter real quick. Let's just go to Stephen's Twitter. Hopefully you guys didn't retweet porn onto my timeline. Steve, oh yeah, it's not that. It's omniliberal, right? Omniliberal. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. He's saying his own behavior isn't... And by the way, you should be willing to risk your life for things you believe in. Okay? So I'm not saying that saying edgy shit on the internet is like bad. Okay? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, did he get nuked? Oh, this has to be somebody else. Omniliberal. What? Did he get nuked? Is it the Omniliberal? Yeah, there we go. There we go. Is this it? No, this is him. This is him. Here we go. Okay. Don't know what that one is. This is him defending Biden. I don't care about that. Here's him pointing out that Trump engages in the kind of stochastic rhetoric. That's probably not going to result in him killed. If they can never go to the leadership and ask them for peace, what chance do we have of doing it? The argument is self-defeating. No, I've already analogized this. But pointing out both sides. The curious case of Erica. Let's see what this is.
Every day he loved it. He loved what he did.
So this is the first out of a total 11 of fake cries.
Every day.
Okay, so you have a widow who is crying and mourning her dead husband, and he's accusing the widow of fake crying during the speech. It's time to defund American universities. You don't need to go to college. Charlie Kirk didn't go to college. Neither did the shooter. Okay, so he's memeing on Laura Loomer, which, by the way, I don't care about the meme. Buying flags and poles just to fly them fully erect. Oh, okay. So there's people who are mourning the loss of Charlie Kirk, and he's saying that he's going to buy more flags just so he can fly the flags at full staff, basically saying that we should not be mourning the death of Charlie Kirk, which, while descriptively true, still is something that could end up with somebody being like, well, fuck this guy. You can't even see the human being who was shot in the neck. You can't even see one of your coworkers who was murdered. You can't even pause your edgy rhetoric for a few days. So yeah, maybe you need to be taken down a notch. And taken down a notch could be through extralegal and extrajudicial violence. His last word was violence. Okay, yeah, so now he's just memeing and dunking on a dead person. She tagged him crying thing. And by the way, I don't take this as Stephen feels like a widow is tagging her husband for what will be one of the last times. I think he's laughing. I think he's laughing at a dead person whose wife is mourning him and tagged his profile so it would appear in his Instagram stories or his Instagram feed. I don't fucking know how Instagram works, right? But she's tagging him, and she probably is going through like an incredible grievous process where even if she's a piece of shit, even if Charlie Kirk was a piece of shit, she's grieving. Okay? So is she engaging in propaganda in order to make the world worse? Absolutely. But can you at least sympathize with the grieving widow? And Stephen's not sympathizing with the grieving widow. He's dunking on a grieving widow. Yeah, I think that rhetoric increases the likelihood of you getting shot. Same thing here. So he does this thing where he acts like he's going to apologize. And by the way, I think this is funny. It's funny, but it's also obviously clearly fucked up. Clearly it's fucked up. One of his peers, Stephen's peers, okay? Somebody that worked in politics the same way in which Stephen works in politics, got murdered, and so he pretends that he's making an apology, and then he updates spicy rhetoric in which he calls Charlie Kirk Satan spawn, and the only thing he changes about his statement is the fact that now it's past tense because he's fucking dead. Okay, so yeah. So if Stephen denies that dunking on a mourning widow and being abrasive about another person's death increases the likelihood with which people will commit violence against you, he's fucking coping. He's engaged. I have to write the Huxley quote down. I just have to write it down on a Microsoft Paint because you guys are coping. You guys are pretending that dunking on a widow while she's mourning her husband is perfectly fine. In that, what else? It's not going to increase the chances that he's going to be murdered. It's all Donald Trump. No, Stephen's responsible for what he says and does. Aren't we liberals in a classical sense? Aren't we people who care about individual freedom? Don't we believe in moral agency? If you believe in agency, then you believe in Stephen being responsible for his own rhetoric. So let's go ahead and write this down because I'm going to bring it up another dozen times before we end stream because you guys just don't seem to get it. To be able to destroy in good conscience, what is it? To be able to behave badly and call your bad behavior righteous indignation. To be able to behave badly and call it righteous indignation. This is the height of psychological luxury, the most delicious of moral treats. This is the height of psychological luxury. And what is it? The greatest of moral treats? The most delicious of moral treats. Huxley. And let's make this like size 72. 48, 72. To be able to destroy in good conscience, to be able to behave badly and call it righteous indignation, this is the height of psychological luxury, the most delicious of moral treats. Yeah, don't gaslight me. Don't gaslight me into pretending that this isn't what you're doing. Don't gaslight me into pretending this isn't what Stephen is doing. Huxley quote. This is 100% what Stephen's doing. And if he denies that he thinks that dunking on a fucking widow, regardless of whether or not it's justified, like logically or politically, dunking, if he denies, he can feel justified in dunking on a widow. But if you think that dunking on a widow of a murdered man, and if you think that dunking on a murdered man are not going to be things that might increase your chances of being murdered, you're fucking coping. You're absolutely coping.
What? Because you're one of the good ones?
And let me explain, if I may. So when you give a reality to a lot of the right-wingers who say the leftists just want to fight us, the left just wants to go to war with us, the left are hunting us, and when you come on stream and you play into that rhetoric and saying, I'm not going to apologize, I'm not going to de-escalate, and you know what? Maybe there is no other option than going to civil war or something. Maybe we got to do what we got to do.
Wick is correct.
What you're doing is you're justifying and you're feeding into their paranoid schizophrenia, basically.
No, their paranoid schizophrenia
True.
is they have a whole media apparatus that is designed to highlight insane takes on the left. Half the shit that gets clipped of mine and spotlighted is like a 2-second cut from any, should I say. Half the people, forget me, don't even think
Yeah, I already brought up the sins of the left, so this is just fucking cope.
about me. Look at them trying to clip the Gen Z attorney guy just did it right here, talking about Biden's speech. These are like the most.
Melody says Connor is going to lose trying to fight with honor while his opponent has free reign to use whatever they want. What would you rather be, Melody? At the end of the day, when you're lying on your deathbed, would you like to be a raping, murderous lunatic, or would you rather be a warrior who fought and died with honor? This is an important question these days. I mean it sincerely. At the end of the day, people dunk on Warhammer 40K. They're like, oh, it's this cringe tabletop universe. Do you know what's interesting about Warhammer 40K? What's interesting about it is that hell has been actually unleashed onto the plane of existence. And there is every excuse in the world to be the worst human being possible. And the truth is that a lot of human beings engage in the worst behavior imaginable. They become cannibals, rapists, murderers, warlords, tyrants. They become the biggest of monsters that you've ever seen in your entire life. But do you know what's interesting about Warhammer 40K stories is finding the men who have every reason in the world to become evil and choose not to because they're still aspiring for what humanity should be. And so you have to ask yourself, because you only get one life as far as we know. When you're on the verge of death, when you're sitting on your deathbed, when your family's saying goodbye, when you have some horrific disease, or when you get shot or killed or stabbed or whatever, do you want to be a murdering rapist monster who said there are no rules, so I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want? Or do you want to be a man with honor? Because the truth is, I don't know if you guys know this, everyone in this chat will die one day. We will all face either the creator of the universe or mindless oblivion. And we will have a few moments to contemplate our lives before we pass into mindless oblivion or before we pass into the arms of God, depending on what you believe. So who do you want to be in that moment? And I'm going to tell you, I have been a honorless, lying, violent piece of shit, and I've been an honorable man. I will fail. I will fail, but I will try to live and die as an honorable man for the rest of my days. I've been both. I prefer the latter.
Docile people, when you listen to people like, when you listen to the right talk about, I just watched a video of a compilation on Facebook. The right is talking about the violent rhetoric of Chuck Schumer, of Kamala Harris, of Joe Biden. These are like the most, are you serious? These are the go-tos because they're saying things like our nation is in chaos. Give me a fucking break. Like these motherfuckers will find anything they can to spotlight to try to make it seem like there's some genocidal intent on the left. And then meanwhile, the left has to disavow over and over and over and over and over again. And the president
and should continue to do so. Silver Jacket Man became a member. Thank you kindly, King.
and does nothing. So it's stupid.
Didn't John Roberts have to come out and explicitly call out Chuck Schumer by name for his comments directed at the Supreme Court like 5 years ago?
I don't know. What was his comment? What did he say about it?
It was something about like the Supreme Court will weep the whirlwind, something like that. We could get the direct quote if someone wants to get it. But the John Roberts is like the most tries to be neutral, fair to everybody, processes everything guy. There's a lot of people on the right hate the way he is chief justice over the court.
Thomas Martinson says groypers use Bella Ciao all the time, ironically. And somebody said they used to be a groyper and they use Bella Ciao. Okay. So seriously, let's do this. Let's do this. No. I'm not going to do it. I'm not even going to waste my fucking time because you guys are schizophrenic. You guys want to pretend that violence can only come from the right. It's not true. It's not true. You're fucking coping. A guy, plenty of leftists rebel against their conservative family. So him having a conservative family has nothing, like, if anything, it emphasizes that he probably is a leftist. He has social media and DSA discords. He has a Democratic Socialists of America shirt. Okay. He has a trans partner with whom he lives. Okay. So you can say, lol, this is a dissident right winger because so many fucking dissident right wing people are schizophrenic, antisocial, degenerate sexual freaks, and therefore this is probably an accelerationist groyper. I am putting it at 9-1, 99-1 that it is a leftist. And I think all of you fuckers are coping. And you're wasting my time by coping. So stop coping.
For him to come out and expressly condemn the Senate, I think at the time Senate Majority Leader for his commentary, because
Chuck Schumer said that the Supreme Court would reap the whirlwind.
I'll get the quote.
I guess while he's getting the quote,
I've got it.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. He said,
you guys just say shit. So the Minnesota Senators don't count? Who the fuck said that? This is pancakes and waffles, bro. Who said this? Haruhi Suzumiya? Pancakes, waffles tweet. This is you. Twitter is the only place where well-articulated sentences will get misinterpreted. You can say, I like pancakes, and somebody will say, so you hate waffles? No, bitch, that's a whole new sentence. What the fuck are you talking about? That's you right now. Who said the Minnesota Senators don't count? Nobody said that. You're just making shit up to get mad at.
I want to tell you, is it Gorsh? I don't remember. Gorsuch. I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, you will pay the price. You don't know you won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions. That's what he said.
Okay.
If that's our standard for violent rhetoric, do you acknowledge, honestly, that on the conservative side, I could find that?
Sorry, real quick. Grassroots5 says, I haven't seen Doobie in chat since the killer was arrested, just saying. Unironically, the killer looks a little bit like my editor, Taze. I had to ask him where he was this past week.
At 1,000 times over?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to die. Here's the thing.
Well, if you say yes to that, then I can't even hear Chuck Schumer then. It's noise at that point. It's the overwhelming amount is coming from the conservative side. Why would I even say anything about that comment by Schumer if that's the standard that we're going to go by?
So it's just the left and Democrats are just infinitely shielded then because you can always find a counterexample on the right.
They're not infinitely shielded.
Stop, guys. You guys are pissing me off. You guys don't understand violence or war. I think I'm one of the few people in chat who has actually seen tons of corpses. I'm the only person who's pulled a fucking dead body that's melted into the rug off of the floor. I'm the only person that's seen a fucking water balloon body popped by a fucking vehicle. I'm the only person who had somebody fucking murdered in my hands. Okay? Know who you're talking to when you say this to me. Okay? If you're a veteran and you've seen hardcore shit, this doesn't apply to you. If you're a first responder and you've seen hardcore shit, this doesn't apply to you. But this applies to everybody fucking else in your chat. It's up to the right to be diplomatic. The left has been diplomatic the entire time. You always want diplomacy. Always. We engaged in diplomacy throughout World War I. We talked about what weapons could be used when, where, and why, even when we're at war with our adversaries. During World War II, we were still engaged in negotiations with the Germans in order to try to get them to stop doing what they're doing. During Vietnam, during Korea, we were always diplomatically engaged with the enemy. You do not cut off diplomatic communications because that's not, wars don't end by blood 99% of the time. They end in negotiation 90% of the time. So JD Vance said something stupid. He said he said something about like wars always end through diplomacy, and then somebody pointed out that like the World War II ended with like nuclear bombing, and the Vietnamese War won with a total invasion of South Vietnam. But guess what? In World War II, the Japanese still had to sign an unconditional surrender. They still had to sign a piece of paper to say that the war was over and that they were going to concede to American political power. In Vietnam, after the North Vietnamese invaded the South, they had to decide who they were going to kill and who they were going to reintegrate back into the current government. So, no, it is always incumbent upon you to be diplomatic, even when your enemy is not. Always. War is diplomacy by other means. Clausewitz. Understand that. Know that. Feel it in your bones. Ukraine, by the way, that conflict will be ended by diplomacy. It will be ended with the redrawing of new borders. And there will be young men who die minutes before the paperwork is signed. Never, ever, even when you're killing your enemy, never eliminate diplomacy. You don't know what you're asking for. You guys are children when it comes to violence.
It's just not relevant to the overall conversation. What did Schumer say the day after? Quote, "I should not have used the words I used yesterday. They did not come out the way I intended to." Can you find me a single example of Donald Trump apologizing for anything he has said that ratchets up the violent rhetoric ever? One.
You're not going to get Trump to apologize. Stop. Like, you can pressure conservatives to hold Trump to account, but you have to understand Trump will not be held to account. The only way he'll be defeated is through the midterms, and the only way he'll be defeated is if he leaves office in 2028. So this whole thing, you can engage in it if you think that it's a decent political ploy to force conservatives to concede that their side is doing bad things. If that's what Steven is trying to do, that's fine. I'll accept that. But expecting that to actually happen, I think is a different story. I think it's a fool's errand.
One example ever.
I can't put Donald Trump, but the example I keep hearing brought up is the Minnesota state lawmakers and how the main person that was making fun, making jokes was Mike Lee, senator from.
Fast and bulbous. To be honest, you're kind of stupid too. You like Christian ethics, lol. Fast and bulbous, you're going to catch a suspension. If somebody has a wrench, fucking hits Fast and Bulbous. I love Fast and Bulbous. He's given me plenty of super chats. He's been a kind, funny, interesting person in my chat. I'm not going to hit you because I can't. Because if I do, you will not be back in this chat. So if a wrench wants to hit Fast and Bulbous, you have my blessing.
From Utah.
Sure. And Donald Trump said disgusting comments as well. Yeah.
About Mike Walls, though, or Tim Walls, right?
In regards to the Senate shooting, yeah.
When I look
The crawling chaos is the left is saying let's not do violence. The right is playing Nazis Germany, greatest hits on Fox News. Like, they are rats, homeless, mentally ill, should be killed. They're at war with us. Yeah, do you know what happened to that guy? That guy had to apologize in order to keep his job. So again, you guys suck. You guys suck. You're brain for war. You're engaged in bad behavior. You can say you're doing 30 miles an hour and the other side's doing 50. You're still driving at them. You're still going to get into a head-on collision because you're fucking stupid. And on top of that, you're doing the Huxley quote. So you're engaged. You want me. Let me go ahead and save that. You want me to condone you being a piece of shit. That's what you want. You want me to say that, go ahead, destroy in good conscience. Behave bad and call it righteous indignation. That's what you want me to do for you. And I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing it for you. I'm not giving you license. You are trying to engage in the height of psychological luxury, the most delicious of moral treats, and I'm not going to let you. If you want that, if you want to be able to destroy in good conscience, if you want to behave badly and call it righteous indignation, this is the wrong channel. It's the wrong channel for you. Go find some other fucking liberal dickhead, some other progressive or leftist dickhead to tell you that you're engaged in good behavior when you're doing wrong. And on top of that, you probably know you're doing wrong. So, no, I disagree. I disagree and I disavow.
But when I was looking up, all I could see was basically him saying he didn't call Tim Walz, but with that keeps being, the reason I'm bringing this up is because that keeps getting brought up as basically Exhibit A of recent politically targeted violence, which certainly, again, I'm not going to dispute. The guy was a right-winger, and he attacked left-winger. But the only evidence example that we're pointing to of, like, elected official that was making a joke was a senator, which is bad. I'm not going to agree with it. But then he walked it back the next day. So just by the standard you just laid out, if someone walks it back the next day.
Yeah, Haruhi Suzumiya says, Nico Bellic said, war is when the old, which, by the way, is that a Grand Theft Auto character? War is when the old and bitter fool the young and angry into bloody conflict. I'm sure somebody else said that besides Nico Bellic, but yeah. TS Phantom says, I think the issue is that Connor is the hand extended by the Republican Party as a hand with an index finger extended pointing out at the Democrats, not saying the aggressive retaliation is good. Okay.
Then it's all hunky-dory. We're cool then.
Did Mike Lee walk that comment back?
He did.
I think he did, actually, yeah.
Okay. He might have walked that comment back, but I would argue that Schumer and Mike Lee's comments were far different. Do you think that Schumer had a, like, malicious or violent intent when he said you'll pay for this or whatever?
Probably not, no.
Do you think that Mike Lee's intent was a little bit more sinister or jokey when he's doing...
Grid One Motorsports says, Connor, are you coming to DebateCon? I have an opening event I'm putting on that Monday after we were going to do a range day. Shit. Where's DebateCon? I don't think I have enough cash for travel, but shit. DebateCon. I want to Google. Go to Google. It defaults to Yahoo, and I've already deleted every program that I thought was maybe malware. And I've also reset in my Chrome profile for Google to be my default search bar, and it still resets. I don't know what to do about it. When is DebateCon? DebateCon in Nashville, Tennessee. November 15th, November 16th, 2025. If I get a healthy chunk of cash, if I get a cash infusion before then I'll go. If I'm just paying bills, truth be told, I've already traveled a lot this year. I went to DC, I went to Texas, and I don't have a lot of money. I have enough money to pay bills, but I don't have a lot of extra money. But yeah, shit, bro, fucking DM me. If you have like a hotel where it's all dudes and they're shacking up on, you know, 2 queens and a pull-out couch, I'll sleep on the pull-out couch. And or if you have like an Airbnb or something, then I'll come crash. And then, I'll pay for a ticket. I think I can find cheap tickets. Like Spirit Airlines has been super reasonable recently. It's been like $150 there and like $100 back. So I've spent like $300 to get to DC and back. So I have to assume that Nashville would probably be same. So if I have an extra $300, I'll buy my tickets. I just need help with lodging. So keep me posted.
A nightmare on Wall Street when a senator just get killed. I'm not saying that he's necessarily advocating for violence, but
I think him trying to turn it into an attack on Tim Walz was certainly ill-advised. I don't see if there's a joke I missed where he was directly making fun of the victims.
Death Lily says, you're wrong. No Democrat is advocating for violence. How hard is that to understand? Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. You think leftists don't vote for Democrats when they're doing the lesser of two evils calculus? You don't think that Straighterade? What if I go check Aaron? Do you think anybody gives a fuck that Aaron is a communist? Do you think they go, oh, Straighterade is a communist, not a Democrat? Do you think they care? Or do you think that they go, oh, she votes Democrat, therefore she is Democrat? Let's go ahead and see what she has to say about Charlie Kirk. So we got boobs. We got Charlie Kirk said words he didn't like, but also if you say words that I don't like, then I'm doxing you. So we're going for this. Oh, here's a blonde woman who's been stabbed and murdered. Here's Charlie Kirk, who's been shot in the neck. Here's Straighterade posting a picture of Corey Chase, a pornographic actress, masturbating. Okay. Now, this is dunking on Ted Cruz, who on 9/11/2001, or 9/11, some anniversary of 9/11, he posted this pornography to his main account, and they said, like, whoops, it was an intern, right? So there's like an element of levity here that I'm willing to concede, where she's not saying that she is jerking off to two murdered people. But do you see how people would find this absolutely fucking repulsive? Then I'm sure we could find, it's cool they're saying stuff like Charlie's mission will be fulfilled and you will all be terribly sorry about a guy they're also pretending just like to debate college kids. Yeah. So in the trenches, you're a fucking podcaster, dude. True. It's so bizarre how people are turning some random schizophrenic murder into a race thing. Would you care if this pretty Ukrainian broad was Indian? No. Go back to playing solitary on your phone, you freak bitch. The girlfriend is always going to be more upset than the wife. Yeah. So you can say there's no explicit calls for violence. Like, I'm not saying, like, go wag your finger at Straighterade. I don't really give that much of a shit. She's a fucking commie. But yeah, she's dunking on a dead guy. So yeah, you think anybody gives a fuck? Nobody's going to give a fuck. They're not going to draw a line between you and Straighterade, and they're also not going to draw a line between actively encouraging murder and then laughing about murder. They're going to view that as stochastic rhetoric. It's so funny that I have so many fucking liberals and progressives in my chat who understand stochastic violence until it applies to them. That's amazing.
he had a that was in quote. The quote was a picture of the shooter in the mask.
With what? Saying what? Nightmare on Wall Street?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's an attack. It's not an attack on the people, on the victims. It's trying to make a political attack, an ill-advised, ill-timed political attack. But you can still see it's still a difference in kind there, though, right?
I want to quote. Did Mike Lee walk it back, or did he just delete his post?
He deleted it and he put out an official statement through his office saying, I could find the official quote, but it was a denunciation of what I said was wrong.
Okay. While they find that though, my concern here, Destiny, with the things that you've said, at least on this panel, which is I feel are far more extreme than what even you were tweeting about. Let me ask you this: do you
expecting people to be all Gandhi when threatened with persecution is fucking right, by the way. I'm assuming you're saying something negative. Would Gandhi have a Desert Eagle on standby so if somebody tried to kill him, he'd blast him in the fucking face? Or are you just straw manning me because it makes you feel better? Anyways, somebody shilled in stream, so I'm going to shill as well. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. I parasocially appreciate you for being here, even if you're pissing me the fuck off right now.
Do you think that telling people that, hey gang, there's really nothing we can do, we can't de-escalate, the right and Trump are out to get you and they want to bring us to civil war, And then let's say tomorrow someone picks up a gun and goes out and tries to assassinate Trump again. Do you not feel
North says, have I seen the debate that you did with the lawyer last night? No, I haven't, brother. But, you know, that sounds pretty long. Not going to lie.
at least somewhat that you have been responsible for that, or you would feel responsible for something?
Maybe, but like, let's back up for 1 second, okay, and not be the like, I don't even want to say optics cucked, because you're not even being optics cucked. We're being delusional. What is anything that you just said leading up to that last statement? Were any of those statements incorrect? Is Trump basically coming after people? Is Trump basically advocating? Not basically. I'm sorry, advocating for his audience to go after people.
What
like,
is incorrect? What
was anything that you said?
That if we de-escalate, that we're going to be led to extinction.
Okay, so you think that?
Yeah, that's crazy rhetoric.
Do you think
that is incorrect?
Do you think that the left can de-escalate right now?
Yes.
I think you can prepare for I think you can prepare for defensive violence.
Absolutely. I think the left can, at least from their part, turn the temperature down in such a way that we are more likely.
Do you think that the left has been
control? Hold on, let me finish. To take control back of the House and the Senate in 2020.
Jesus Christ. Grassroots hegemon with a $100 donation. Send Patty wrench money, buy a hat for your hat. Holy shit. Well, I guess I have to do it now.
2026 and also win in 2028 electorally, because remember, there's more than just two players to this prisoner's dilemmas game. There are other factors involved, including a whole host of people who are watching what we do and judging accordingly. And I feel that if we do de-escalate and the right does not, that those other players, the electorate, will give us the W.
Really? Did that happen last year?
Yes. Really? Did that happen last year? No, Stephen, but you ran an obnoxiously bad candidate and gave her 3 months to try to reverse all of her positions from 2019. So maybe you ran an exceptionally bad campaign.
Sure.
No, but it happened in 2022. It happened in 2020.
Yeah.
It happened in 2018. Like,
This, get him, Rick! Get him! Get him!
I agree with that.
Yeah, sure. And in 2020, first of all, also, you don't agree with that because Donald Trump tried to literally coup the government and you still voted for him. So I don't know why you're saying I agree with that. Okay.
All right. I'll admit Stephen got a little punched in there. That's funny.
The fact that Donald Trump engaged in the behavior that he did in 2020, didn't make a single adjustment or tweak whatsoever to his electoral strategy through 2024, and then won the election in 2020, shows that something is like fundamentally broken in our media or political apparatus or in the way we're communicating with each other.
Sure, right-wingers are propagandizing themselves to thinking the sins of the right and the sins of the left are approximately equivalent, so they might as well vote for whoever is going to act in their self-interest. Which, by the way, this is why I hate democracy. This is why I think democracy is the worst form of government except for all the other ones. However, since it's the worst form of government except for all the other ones, you have to expect people to be some level of self-interested. And so if there's an option to dunk on a mourning widow or not dunking on a mourning widow because you know that normies are going to see that, then the clear option is let's not dunk on the mourning widow, because even though calling for civil war is worse than dunking on a mourning widow, dunking on a mourning widow is still going to turn people off to your politics. Mind-blowing shit here. I'm rewriting the political game by being a fucking normal person. All right, where's Send Patty? Send Patty. Go to channel, pin message, report, remove, put in timeout, hide user on this channel, or add as moderator. All right. Send Patty. Because of grassroots' hegemons, insane generosity, which was not required. He could have just asked. You now have a wrench, and you are free to throw wrenches at other people. Have fun. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. All right. I do parasocially love you guys. I'm sorry for being so fussy today, but some people are saying some shit that's really pissing me the fuck off. Back to the content.
The idea that one side can de-escalate I just don't think that's ever been true at any point in human history. I don't think it's been true in our recent history. I don't understand where this idea that if one, like, I feel like the left has largely been de-escalating, right? The peak bad was probably, I guess, like the BLM riots, which Biden and Kamala had to disavow in order to run.
It was the Chaz stuff that was peak bad. Chaz was pretty bad.
Chaz was bad.
Yes, Chaz was bad. Chaz Chop was bad. BLM was bad. The Summer of Love was bad. Villainizing Kyle Rittenhouse was bad. All of that was bad. The left is not free from sin.
But I'd say like the BLM riots altogether is like larger on the national stage or whatever. The Chaz stuff was cringe. But like Donald Trump and the Republicans have just gone higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. They show no indication whatsoever of turning anything down. Every single right-leaning piece of violence gets blamed on the left anyway. So if they keep ratcheting it up and more right-wing violence happens, they're just going to say it was caused by a leftist regardless.
Yep. I mean, whenever I talk to my my right-wing friends who are solidly...
Melody says, better to call out your president than randoms. Who do I have more influence over, Melody? The president of the United States or rando chatters I have in my chat? Who do I have more influence over? And then you'll understand why I do what I do. I don't have any influence over Donald Trump. I don't have the capacity to compel him to good behavior. What I do have is I have 200 human beings who are thinking about how to engage in the world politically and morally, and I am advocating that they engage politically and morally as best as they possibly fucking can. That's what I'm advocating for. You, again, I'm not even going to do the whole quote. You're a Huxley quote. I'm just going to use it as an insult now. You're a Huxley quote. Every time I see somebody saying, please, Connor, ooh, woo, I'm such a small bean. Please excuse me, behaving poorly. I'm going to say no. Huxley quote.
In the right-wing bubble, like people who are decent, that if you broke them out of that media sphere, they would, you know, the scales would fall from their eyes, but they're still in it. Whenever I talk to them, their view is always that, oh, it was actually a leftist who did that last attack. It was actually a leftist who did that. It's actually...
All right, Crayon is saying, don't watch people shit on mute. Well, I won't advocate. Well, I'm not advocating for it as a, how would I say it? I'm not advocating for it as in I want to fleece YouTube of cash. Because as an example, there was a Twitch scandal where streamers were running their old streams 24/7 and then botting. And so they were getting endless amounts of ad revenue cash off of botted views on old content. That's not what I'm advocating for. Okay. What I'm advocating for, as a matter of fact, I'll do it right now. And I'm not saying that this is good. Maybe YouTube would still frown upon this, but I'll show you exactly what I would do. This is Wick TV. Wick TV put this content together. I am watching this. Sorry. I am watching this content on Destiny's channel only because it had the introductory segment that was highly edited and I wanted to deal with the highlights. Okay. Attempted Trump assassination. These are videos. What about live? Here, political violence. Now, he already got 17K views, so good for Wick. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to be able to watch this whole thing. It's 3 hours and 37 minutes, okay? But I will watch a substantive amount of it, and I'm already giving Wick some level of notoriety by putting him on your screens and praising his argument. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this channel. I'm going to like the video because I want Wick TV to continue creating this video. And also, I want Wick to get a full view of this because he is the person who put these fine folks together. And so I'm going to download this, maybe for my viewing pleasure later, and this will count as a full view. So I am not trying to defraud YouTube of money that they want to spend on earnestly engaged with content. I want to reward Wick for creating good content. So I appreciate your concern. I hope that YouTube can tell the difference in my advocacy. It's not to defraud YouTube, it's to support Wick. All right, moving on.
Actually, the deep state, it's a glowy. And it's like, well, even if the left stopped doing violence, they'd be blamed for the violence anyway. So you can't de-escalate in that media environment. It doesn't work.
Why not? Why can't you just say violence is bad? What's the problem?
However,
But
the reason
defensive legal violence good, illicit extrajudicial violence bad. But what is saying the truth bad now? Do Republicans get emboldened when you speak the truth?
that they say, and this has been done with the Charlie Kirk stuff. I think Shuan had said, right, even if it turns out that the killer was some kind of Groyper guy, right, and not really a leftist or some kind of schizo that had an incoherent political ideology, they will see the celebrations of many on the left, right, and it's a lot, right, and people who are making memes, making jokes, going out, just saying crazy shit. And then they'll see Destiny come on and say, well, we can't de-escalate. We might as well prep for war, gang, because otherwise we're going to go extinct. And they're going to use...
We should prep for war. We should be always engaged in diplomacy and attempt towards peace. What is it? It's like sic hoc something something via bellum. If you want peace, prepare for war, Latin. I know it's cringe. I know people have they have, it's from like The Punisher, right? So I understand that people have overused this, but si vis pacem para bellum. Okay, so if you want peace, prepare for war. And so that is something that better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. This is a fundamental part of my personality, okay? I did not want to be a gardener in a war, so I practiced violence for a decade. And I paid for my practice of violence physically, emotionally, and spiritually. But when you, a bunch of gardeners, are in my chat crowing for war, I don't think you know what you're asking for.
that to justify to normies that we're right and they're wrong. And I think that if we take out as much as we can of that equation, right?
All right, real quick. Sacred Snow, $5. Leaving on Wednesday for a road trip back to my hometown for a wedding. So my wife and 2-year-old daughters are about to become unwilling grill hottest. Based, Sacred Snow. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Also, this is what I'm going to say. Sacred Snow is traveling across the country with his young family. I don't want him to have to go through militia checkpoints in order to get where he wants to go. I don't want him to have to answer questions about his political affiliations at the threat of a gun. I don't want random street brigands to think that it's appropriate to take their wrath out on American families like my family or Sacred Snow's family or Grassroots family or anybody's family. So don't cheer on war. Tigerung says, from Steven's point of view, going hard now is more likely to disincentivize further escalation. Yeah, I think that's so fucking stupid. I think that's unbelievably stupid.
I think that we have a much better chance at getting to a civil
works-cited crack pipe. Do you think Mike Walsh watched my stream before he made his call to arms decision that the Daily Wire retweeted? Do you think that Donald Trump watched my stream before he went on Fox and Friends this morning when they were begging him for a shred of humanity to call down the violence and he refused to do so? Are these guys
Do you not think you have any influence on these things? Because
yeah, you have influence over literally tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of young people. Steven, this is stupid.
I think
they don't hear from you directly.
They don't care.
But they hear it indirectly.
It's called for the lawyer guy here, we call it pretextual. They have the conclusion that they want, and they will find anybody to justify it.
Steven is a Huxley quote.
Want violence, and they're going to say the left is causing violence. If it's not me, they'll find some random Twitter account. If it's not some random Twitter account, they'll find some random Blue Sky account. They do this even with irrelevant. What was the Sydney Sweeney where all the right-leaning people were like, oh my God, the left is freaking out about this. And meanwhile, no one on the left even cared. They can fabricate whatever issue they want. Today, I just learned that it was apparently 25 million illegal immigrants that came in when I thought it was 20 or 15 and 10. And who knows what the investment is up to now. And now the stock market matters, and it didn't matter before when it was going down. Like every single thing that conservatives are doing are just putting this false reality in front of the eyes of their constituents. And you're saying, well, if we just turn the temperature down, these guys can't even perceive a temperature. How could we turn it down? How would that even matter? It hasn't helped at all so far.
Because I'm not trying to appeal to those crazies. I'm trying to appeal to the normie electorate, which does make judgments based on these things, based on the signal to noise ratio, right? When the signal to noise ratio is mostly noise, then a lot of them just disregard it. I don't think the Sydney Sweeney
The crazies are about half the country right now.
No, They're not. My father-in-law runs a drug rehabilitation center. He's as conservative as they come, and he makes constant excuses for Donald Trump's bad behavior. He's not about to pick up a rifle and start murdering his neighbors. My dad also, I think, make excuses for Trump. I don't know how he voted. I think he probably didn't vote for the presidential ticket, but he still makes excuses for Elon Musk and Trump. He's not about to pick up a rifle and murder his neighbors. There are plenty of normal conservatives who are not on the internet, who are not interested in murdering their neighbors for the cult of Trump. So no, I disagree. We went to, Stephen and I went to a range. We went to a range in Palm Beach County. I forget what the range is called, but it's run by the Florida Fish and Wildlife. And all of the range instructors there are veterans, law enforcement veterans. They're all conservative, good old boys. And Stephen himself complimented the range staff to me, where he said, these guys were a bunch of good old boys, but they were so polite and so nice and so like they like taught people, and they're going out of their way to be proactive members of the community. Even those people who have the ability and predisposition to be the militia for Donald Trump will not be going door to door to murder their neighbors for the Trump cult. So while we can all be disturbed, and I am disturbed by Matt Walsh, I am disturbed by the Michael Knowles, I am disturbed by the Trump cultists who are braying for civil war. I think that those are people profiting off of the AdSense incentive to be inflammatory, arguably the same way that Stephen profits from the AdSense incentive to be inflammatory. And I think that 80 to 90% of conservatives will not be engaged in civil war. So fuck these media pundits, call them pieces of shit, call out their Civil War LARPing bullshit, but do not mirror it. Do they have a Civil War bundle deal? They sure do. $900 for, I saw it on that page while we were looking at it. They had an AR-15 and a PSA Dagger, which is their Glock clone. And I think their Glock clone takes Glock mags. So you can get a Glock clone and an AR-15 for $900. That is a fucking steal. So
I disagree. I
need to use the restroom. I'm going to trust Wick. Wick's doing an excellent job. I understand he's not as sexy as me. He's not as funny as me. He's not as cool like me. But Wick and Tally are doing a perfect. I don't think they've brought up my points, but I think they're pressing Steven on his bullshit, and I appreciate them pressing Steven on his bullshit. So thank you, Tally. Thank you, Wick. Thank you for your service. I'll be right back. I'm going to go use the restroom.
Wrong. Donald Trump won the popular vote in the last election after trying to insurrect the government.
Because the economy was anemic and you had a uniquely dog shit candidate in a uniquely international event that disincentivized leftists and progressives from voting for the Democrats. Stephen, that's not because Donald Trump had good rhetoric. That's because the Democrats had bad rhetoric, one of the worst modern political campaigns run, and an anemic economy.
Not everyone who voted
Stephen
for Trump is part of this crazy cohort, though. There is a significant group within the Trump voters, the MAGA cultists, that you will never reach, and I agree with you, are these crazy cultists. But to say that is most or all of Trump voters in 2024,
Sure, then it's just as bad, but it's on the other end of the coin where they just don't care about it then, in which case it doesn't matter anyway.
It's not that they don't care, it's that they care also about what the left is doing, and I agree with you that they
don't care about what the left is doing. They care about the right is saying the left is doing. Please correct yourself. Nobody here is going to. You're not fighting left lawmakers that are doing shit like this. Like simultaneously, I swear to God, I've probably heard you make these same complaints on these platforms where people are like, "What's wrong with the left? They're feckless. They don't do anything. They're politically ineffective. They won't stand up. All they do is they hold up signs in Congress." And then the next day, when Donald Trump, the Republicans, say something different, it's like, "Oh my God, the left is calling for violence everywhere. They're crazy. They're doing the most unhinged ever." And then tomorrow, it's going to be, "Man, the left is so weak and losers. They don't do anything ever." Like it's whatever the Republicans tell us we're supposed to feel about the left that day is what we end up feeling about the left that day. Why don't we look at what the actual thought leaders, what the actual elected politicians say and do? rather than what Twitter is telling us.
See, but I think this is the game that gets played though, where it's like, okay, it's easy, and I'll give credit to all the Democrats who've come out and said, yes, political violence is bad. Okay, you get your props for that. But right now is about the easiest time for someone on the left to come out and say that, because guess what? If you don't say that, you're seen as the one that's fostering and probably getting this type of violence. It'd be like taking any sort of attack that the left may do or the right may do on the left, and now all of a sudden the entire discourse is about how the left needs to tone down their rhetoric so less right wingers go after hunting lefties.
Yeah, if the environment right now has so many huge figures on the right calling for civil war, why the would I look to the left to disavow people on Twitter?
So, I mean, and I guess I disagree with this framing too, as far as like, yes, I see the calls for war. It's time to fight back. But honestly, I don't even know what that means. I'd love for someone to explain to me, war against who? What does war even look like? Are these genuine calls for violence, calls for war? Or is this just more LARPing, cosplaying, saying it's time to fight? Fight, fight, fight. Was Trump saying fight, fight, fight after getting shot? Was that him saying, okay, now it's time to go to war? It's time to literally fight? I just, without identifying, we're getting into some legal ideas here, without identifying with specificity who's being referred to, who's being talked about. I'm sure you're familiar, the incitement test in Brandenburg. It's without being able to specifically define a specific call to action with imminence as well. Imminence that this person needs to be fought, needs to be thrown out, XYZ needs to be done to them. There's so many elements at play here that are at play for a reason in a court of law, because they matter if we're going to try and prove this stuff. But we're just kind of playing real fast and loose with, okay, if someone says it's time to go to war against far left communist radical lefts, and then it's like,
yeah,
I'm not seeing enough specificity or outcomes.
This is the game in real time. I don't think you even believe anything you just said. I think you know that you're playing a game right now, because we have no problem trying to parse through the statements of every random word that Joe Biden says, or we can remember these specific quotes about "you'll reap the whirlwind" that Schumer says and apologizes for the next day. But now, when it comes time for people like Mike Walsh to say, "We're done talking. We're done. We tried polite discourse and it didn't work.
Matt
and now
Walsh.
we're going to fight. Now we have no idea what that means. Now it's, well, who knows? These are vague calls, and who knows what it means when they say."
Elected position does Matt Walsh hold?
He's one of the largest alternative media figures on the right.
Okay, but you are one of the largest media figures on the left. You are.
I'm an alternative media figure, number one. Number two, I've said this
You just said
multiple times.
Matt Walsh was an alternative media figure too.
Sure, I don't have a direct connection to the president like the Daily Wire does. Do you think I'm endorsed by the DNC or by the Democrats? But number two, here's a key difference, because if you wanted to make this equivalent, that's fine. The difference between me and Walsh right now is I would say, hey, if we should turn down the temperature, I 100% would disavow both sides. He will never say that. Do you acknowledge that? That he will never admit that there is any violence on his side that needs to be toned down. That's coming from the president of the United States.
He's a liar, and we shouldn't base our behavior on how he behaves. We shouldn't take our morals.
You don't base
from
your
Matt
behavior on
Walsh.
how he if somebody kills somebody in self-defense, is that basing your behavior on how the other person behaves?
We're not talking about physically violent
We
actions.
just watched the guy get assassinated. What do you mean we're not talking about physical violence?
Are you calling for physical violence? I don't think you are.
I'm saying that it's not the same when you're responding to another person. I'm responding to the Republicans. That's not the same as doing it out of nowhere.
Who has done physical violence to you that you are responding to?
To me, I guess, I hope that I survive my assassination attempt so I can come back and go, look, Wick, I told you. Breathing device. What kind of a question is that?
You bleed out, and I will say you were right, Destiny. You were right all along.
This is retarded. This is not. This can't be a serious response.
Of course, that was not a serious response. I was joking. But what I am not joking about, what I am serious about, is that this idea, right, that the rhetoric is going to ultimately lead to some kind of physical altercation between the right and the left is something that the right is pushing hard right now, because they are accelerationists on the right are pushing hard right now. And it seems to be you're playing along. You are helping them do it.
Was the North helping the South when they wanted to go along with secession and the Civil War?
No, but we are not in a situation we are at civil war. You're not there.
But the president is deploying the military to cities and tweeting memes about it.
So
What is
that's
that if
civil
not
war,
a
though?
comment? Definitionally, yes. What do you mean? The president of the United States taking the military and using it for law enforcement measures against radical leftist Democrat mayors? That is definitionally civil war. When you're using your military for law enforcement purposes against the will of the governors of those states and the mayors of those cities, yeah. What else would that be?
I thought they're not able to. I thought they're not able to work in a law enforcement capacity, and that it's basically a waste of money and resources because they are essentially a deterrent. Even though
That's true. They're not. They're also not allowed to. They're not allowed to deploy the National Guard without the consent of the governors, but they did it in California anyway.
Yeah.
Hold on.
That seems to be a question that the courts need to adjudicate. And I
Oh
don't
my
think that's
God! The courts.
Yeah, because it was already done. He's allowed to federalize the National Guard. He's the commander in chief of the armed forces. He did it improperly. It needs to be adjudicated by the court. Also, by the way, the reason why the National Guard isn't deploying to Chicago is because they already know that it's illegal. Probably because they're about to get struck down in Los Angeles. So yeah, Trump is spiritually violating the concept and law of the Posse Comitatus Act. Okay? Which prohibits the president from deploying federal troops or deploying troops in general for federal purposes on U.S. soil without, what would you call it? Without some kind of exception, some kind of higher purpose. I don't even know if Tallybots was making excuses for it. She might have been just trying to be descriptive. But I understand that Stephen is saying like, oh, well, she's explaining the mechanism, so clearly she's sweeping for it. I'm not trying to sweep for it. I'm trying to be accurate. Very frustrating.
We need to have the courts ask the question of whether or not the fact that you would even say that that we need to wait for the courts to weigh in on whether President Donald Trump can send the military to the states to do law enforcement. Like what?
We do know that he can't do that, but I think that they actually adjudicated that federal DOD personnel and federal personnel can be deployed to defend federal buildings. I think that's how they got around the Marine thing. The Marines they're not allowed to engage in law enforcement, but they are allowed to physically defend federal buildings. Stephen.
How do you have so much credit for this guy? It's crazy to me.
I'm not. Well, no, I'm saying in order to fight back on that note is what I'm saying.
No,
I'm
the
not
fact
saying,
that that's
who
even
knows
a
if this is
normal
right or
question
wrong.
is unhinged. It's like watching Trump rape a 9-year-old girl and say, we need to find out if those were tears of joy before we find out if something wrong was done. There's an unhinged statement. That's a crazy statement to make.
I don't see how those things are analogous at all.
Analogous, Tally, not analogous. I know that you might have only read that word before, but analogous.
Because you're asking me, do I need to wait for the Supreme Court to tell me if the President of the United States posting memes about sending the military to do law enforcement in Chicago is a bad thing?
No, I didn't say anything about the memes. I'm talking about the actual specific action, a way to counter that, as opposed to saying, well.
The code says, if I was going to shoot someone, I'd use this idiot. Kid online. Thanks, Unk. Okay. And if that kid, let's say that we're using kid colloquially, let's say that that kid is either 18 or 21 years of age, and they go off of my recommendation, they get a Palmetto State Armory AR-15, they get a Glock pistol, and they get a pump-action shotgun, and then let's say that they train with it, as is their legal right to do. And then let's say that somebody breaks into this kid's house in order to do him harm or do somebody else harm, and he cuts down whoever is breaking into his house. I will sleep like a fucking baby. Sleep like a baby. Defensive legal violence is not only justifiable, it is based.
Yeah, it is civil war. So if Trump's going to send in the National Guard, then we got to send in our crazies. A way to counter that is to actually try to work within the system that we have. That, yes, Trump and people on the right are trying to deteriorate. I agree.
Work how within the system?
The ammunition is expensive. You just buy it piecemeal. Every time you get a paycheck, if you're making like $3,000 a month and you got an extra $50, instead of getting DoorDash, go pick up your food from the store, save the $20 and spend it on ammunition. Each ammunition thing is, it's like $50 for 50 rounds pretty much. You can find cheaper shit, but you're going to be spending between like 35 for pistol calibers. You're going to be spending between 20 cents and 75 cents a round. for rifle calibers and shotgun calibers, you're going to be spending between like 50 cents and $2 a round, depending on what caliber you're shooting. So yeah, ammo is expensive. This is true.
That he's already shown a flagrant disregard for. He doesn't play in the system.
Well, like Wick said, work to appeal to the normies who don't want to see this type of violence and who do not want civil war, and work to get elected. The election will be coming up in a year's time.
Okay, so
hold up. Christian Blair says, or save your money and purchase something from Daniel Defense SIG that have near perfect QA. And Beef Supreme says, speak for yourself. I own a Daniel Defense. Number one, do not be flexing your $2,000 guns in my chat without giving super chats, okay? Now, I parasocially love you, and both Beef Supreme and Christian Valeris have super chatted and gifted memberships before. So you gentlemen are off the hook. But if there is some Gucci gear, staccato, SIG 556, Daniel Defense, LMT, Knights Armory Corporation owners who have $2,000 to $10,000 guns, and you have not gifted memberships and you have not gifted super chats, and you are a fan of this channel, you are cheap. Okay? You got $2,000 for a rifle, but you don't have $5 for your favorite streamer? Fuck out of here.
We can edge out another 50-member Senate where Biden passed a record amount of legislation. Doesn't matter. No one gave a
because they don't know how to market. This is another thing that Stephen was wrong on and Pisco was right on. Pisco and the Vanguard boys and Live and Learn had this fight where they were saying that, who is it? They were saying that Biden did not do enough in order to not only market his successes, but push his base to achieve more. And Hutch and other electoral people pointed out that he actually did achieve quite a lot, considering how anemic he is as a person. And sorry, I'm trying to figure this out. And what several people pointed out, I think including the Vanguard boys, even though they're stupid, and what Pisco pointed out is that, like, well, part of the job now in the modern era is marketing. Pisco's right. We have a social media presidency, whether you like it or not. You need to be updating your constituency on what you're achieving legislatively and how it's going to affect their lives. And you need to put it into you need to put it into well-marketed packages that communicate value to the people, to your citizenry. That's why Mamdani is set to win, is because he has catchy, short, 3-minute ads that communicate simple messages for what he wants to achieve while in office.
Biden had to come in after another destroyed
Biden's
Republican economy.
Is obviously.
And by the way, all we've done so far is played Who Is Worse. That's all we've done so far in the stream. So what I might do in a moment, because we're already about to hit 4 hours, I think somebody already talked about the prisoner's dilemma. And I think Steven has, I'm going to let them finish this argument, and then I'm probably going to move the prisoner's dilemma, unless somebody has a specific timestamp for something that they want to see in here.
Separate to the severe cultural rot in our society
That's caused by conservatives. They are rotting the culture and showing you the cultural rot they want to talk about. That's why prior to the election, every American in the country, people in Michigan and Pennsylvania are worried about illegal immigrants, and now the problem is magically gone. No one cares about it anymore.
They dropped immigration to near zero. It's like net zero immigration right now because nobody's going to be trying to immigrate during Trump. What the fuck, man? That's why nobody gives a shit anymore. Nobody gives a shit because net immigration dropped to zero because nobody was going to try to come in during the second Trump admin. What are we talking about, Steven? Now, he hasn't passed legislation, which means that we're probably going back to the status quo in 2 years. But I know why conservatives aren't complaining about immigration. It's because we're torturing Central Americans by sending them to Sukkot and sending them to Alligator Alcatraz. That's why no conservatives are complaining. Because they see constant videos of people being raided at restaurants and at Home Depot. That's why nobody cares anymore. They feel like the problem is being handled, even if it isn't. Machiavellian says, we don't associate with him. Use proper nouns, please. 6.5 millimeter Grendel says, I get a CZ-P10C instead of a dagger. CZ is clearly better. All right, I'm going to let this play for a second while I'm still checking in with chat, but I'm going to go find the prisoner's dilemma because I think there's a single clip of Steven talking about it. and I need to see whether or not there's a steel man in there somewhere.
Real time is what's called reciprocal radicalization, where each side's extreme points to the other side's extreme to justify their extreme actions. And when you are helping them do that,
the difference is that
you
the
are an
extreme that they're
active
pointing to.
ally and participant.
No, you're so wrong, and it's such a retarded thing to say.
Just
The
true.
extreme people on the left are people like Hassan Piker. The extreme people on the right are people like Donald Trump.
Bro, you're calling for civil war.
I'm not. It's
You just said we need it. You just said that I can't Fed post. So what are you talking about, Steven? What are you talking about when you say, oh, I'm on the verge of Fed posting? What are you talking about? I think this is a perfectly viable interpretation of what you've said not 20 minutes before.
It's a one-sided
You're saying it's
thing.
the only option.
If one side wants to push for war, then what do?
You engage in legal defensive violence. Legal defensive. What is it? Destiny streamer prisoner's dilemma. The prisoner's dilemma explains Destiny's tweets. Okay.
This sounds like a bad.
All right. We'll get into that momentarily.
You're saying the two options are civil war or extinction.
If the other side won't de-escalate, yes, right now, do you think that right now, if the Democrats said, hey, Trump, we're willing to disavow all violence if you do, who do you think is the roadblock there?
I don't know how that changes anything.
Okay, well, it's a hard hypothetical. You're saying the Democrats, are you talking about like a thought leader of the Democrats? Is it a...
That's the
they're getting
problem. We're
together?
also, we're conflating a lot of these things.
I'm not. I haven't conflated them at all. You guys are, to be clear. I'm talking about the elected people who represent the party on both sides. Sometimes you guys want to talk about the Twitter on the left, but I'm talking about like the elected lawmakers.
Okay, so we are all conflating these things though, right? Because yeah, the problem does not seem to be Democratic elected officials. By and large, they are not part of this problem of stoking violent rhetoric and cheering on violence and anything like this. It is obviously a problem online in the media sphere, and a lot of young people, maybe the people who are getting radicalized right now, they are not really listening to. They're not listening to They know your name before they know the name of their elected official locally, and the same is true on the right. And you're right, the alt media space on the right is worse than Trump's rhetoric, frankly, like by a large magnitude. And so we do need to worry about what the online cultures look like, or what the non-elected official culture in this country looks like, because there is severe radical polarization going on between citizens. And you can say that the most jarring and
Gupper Supper says, can felons have compound bows? I'm pretty sure you can own crossbows. And I think you can own all sorts of crazy shit. Can felons... Sorry, I'm like way behind in chat. Can felons have bows and arrows? Yes, generally felons can possess and use bow and arrow for hunting in most U.S. states, as they are not classified as firearms under federal law. However, state and local laws put probation and parole conditions. So yeah, so check with your local state. But there's no federal prohibition. Can felons have crossbows? Yes, in many jurisdictions, felons can own crossbows. Let me show you something sweet, too. I forget who it's by. It's not semi-auto, but it's like magazine-fed crossbow pistol. I have this thing, and it's awesome. I got this. This thing is sick. The Steambow AR6 Stinger. It's basically a bolt action crossbow pistol. And you have like 6 of these darts. And it's awesome. Like under 25 yards, you can it's like stabbing somebody with a screwdriver. So are you going to kill someone with this? Not unless you get like a heart shot or a headshot. You're probably not going to kill someone with this. But if you fill somebody's guts with let's say somebody's breaking into your house and you shoot them with this like 3 or 4 times in the guts, number one, they're probably going to run away because you're effectively stabbing them with a screwdriver from 30 yards away or like 25 feet away, right? And then number 2, so not only are they probably running away, but number 2, they're going to have to go to the hospital. Because if you hit somebody in the guts or the intestine with this, you're probably going to cause like septic shock So you might not kill them, but you will hospitalize them. So yeah, dude, if you're a felon and your local municipality doesn't prohibit, and like you're reformed, right? You're not like a schizophrenic, you're not doing hard drugs, you're not ruining your life, you're not beating up on people, you're not a bully, you just want to be able to defend yourself, then I would 100% get a Steamboat AR-6 Stinger and keep it in my house for self-defense. 100%. Or a black powder pistol, or an air gun.
Explicit stuff is coming from the right, and I'll agree with you that it's coming from more mainstream right than mainstream left, but it does come from the left, and people are not just reacting to nothing, even if they are overreacting, even if they are painting with a huge brush, which yes, the right is one to do, to call everyone on the left, including all the liberals and the moderates and everything. Well, they use liberal as the derogatory word, but yes, they are painting with too broad a brush, but it almost
everybody
feels like
on the
saying,
left
well,
that
I guess we should just prove them right.
If everybody,
Tally,
it's not
listen.
proving anybody right to act in a defensive manner against a side that is calling for the eradication of your political movement in the United States.
A defensive manner doesn't seem to be what you're.
I see half a dozen cringe people calling for the eradication of the Democratic Party, but they're either like celebrities, like that guy who played the main actor in Babylon 5, or it's like Scott Adams, or it's like some random shitter militia account. I don't think the Trump administration is going to successfully be capable of banning the Democratic Party from existing in the United States of America. I think that's hyperbolic, to say the least.
Calling
number one, that's literally where we're at this point. Okay, number one. Number two, if all of the left mainstream people disavowed as hard as they could, then the temperature would go from 0 to 100. It would go from 100 to 98. If Donald Trump just on his own, if Donald Trump just on his own were to bring it down,
that's not the problem.
Sure.
Back says, so if the leader of my country doesn't want to lower the temperature, then why should we? Because you, it's like you haven't been paying attention the entire time. That guy jaywalks, so I should be able to slap my wife. That guy slaps his wife, so I should be able to get DUIs. That guy gets DUIs, so I should be able to do that. Shut up, Vaxxed. No, you don't get to be a piece of shit just because other people are being pieces of shit. Sorry. If you want to go to, we lost some people. Obviously, somebody else went live. I understand that a substantive amount of my audience are liberals who just want to see a Republican become a liberal. But I'm telling you right now, if your goal is to somehow make me morally confused, to excuse you being a piece of shit because other people are being a pieces of shit, it's never going to fucking happen. It's not going to happen. I'm an almost 40-year-old man. I have 2 children. I pay my bills for the most part when they're due. I pay my taxes for the most part when they're due. I have a moderately successful life. Okay. I'm not Steven. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a rock and roller. I don't do any of that crazy gangster shit. I don't do hard drugs. I don't bang whores. So I don't have the eccentricities of like an uber successful person, but I consider myself a moderately successful person. So if you're expecting me to look at my life and then talk to some, no offense to you, because maybe you're not this person, but to have a bunch of DGG, overeducated, underemployed, underpaid, antisocial, no kid having fucking freaks say, no, we should get to be pieces of shit because other people are being pieces of shit. No, I'll pick my life over yours every single day of the week, and you should too. I'm not going to listen to you. You should listen to me. Silver Jacket Man for 10. Thank you, King. I parasocially love you. Thank you for the super chat. Says, I'm somewhat embarrassed to have dropped $1,600 this weekend on a handgun. On the upside, now I can pretend I'm Solid Snake. I'm in Illinois, so I hope to see the gun in person before I'm retired. What's Solid Snake's gun? Is that like a US SOCOM? What is his gun? What is Solid Snake's pistol? Isn't it that really fat Navy SEAL one? Solid Snake SOCOM is a colloquial name for the H&K Mark 23 SOCOM, a 45 caliber semi-automatic pistol with a laser aiming module and a detachable suppressor. So I'm pretty sure this is Solid Snake's gun. Let me eliminate SOCOM just so I know that it's not it. But this is a combat pistol. What is Solid Snake's pistol? I'm pretty sure it's the SOCOM. So it's Special Operations Command H&K Mark 23, which is a beautiful pistol. And this thing is huge. But the reason why it's huge is so it can accommodate the silencer and the laser module, which was huge in the 80s and 90s. This was like when they first came out with the pistol and they didn't know how to make silencers small and didn't know how to make laser modules small. But the whole point of this is that it's a huge pistol, but because it's big, you can put your hands on it. You can put your mitts on it. It has a massive amount of capacity and you can blast folks. So yeah, based. And thank you for saving $10 in your budget to not only buy a $1,500 gun, but to also give one of your favorite streamers a $10 super chat. My parents love you for it. Thank you kindly, Silver Jacket Man.
Donald Trump.
Okay. So hold on, let me contend with this. I agree. If Donald Trump just on his own were to bring down the rhetoric, it would have more of an impact than
it would have like 90% of the impact, right?
Elected Democratic officials bringing down the rhetoric.
And everyone in the mainstream media on the left. Sure. Okay. Sure. The problem really is with our online culture and the alt media and all of this stuff, in my humble opinion. So I agree. Donald Trump completely changing his tune would bring the rhetoric down more than public elected officials or the mainstream media on the left bringing down their temperature. But I think, and this is not a testament to the right, unfortunately, but a lot of the extremist right, for lack of better terms.
Hey, Melody, if you don't want to catch a suspension, then shut the fuck up. Saying SharePoint is better, actually has good points, nice, better answers than Connor at least. Fuck off. I'm right, you're wrong. If you want to go have a liberal say, hey, yeah, be a piece of shit. Conservatives are being pieces of shit. Go be a piece of shit too. You're a fucking Huxley quote, bro. You're a Huxley quote. I'm not going to validate your behavior. So maybe, I appreciate seeing you in chat on the regular, but maybe if you can't understand that, then we're not going to agree. Let's put it that way. I'm not changing my mind anytime soon.
Don't give about Trump at this point. Like they kind of virtue signal towards him because that's kind of part of their base, and they know that that's like how they got into this sphere and that's how they gained their prominence. But a lot of the actual scary right is already beyond Trump. A lot of them.
But those people they're a small percentage of people. MAGA is a huge percentage.
I don't think they're irrelevant. No, I don't think they're irrelevant.
They're irrelevant compared to Donald Trump. There will always be radicals. I don't care about groypers or neo-Nazis or whatever. MAGA is the issue. On J6, that was MAGA. That wasn't groypers. That was MAGA. That was Donald Trump and the Republican Party. Stephen Miller is the deputy chief.
Paul says, I feel like politics isn't about just controlling yourself, though. Controlling the others is a large part of it. Yeah, sorry. How do you want to do that legally? Paul, how do you want to do that legally? How do you want to control MAGA legally? How do you want to do it within a liberal Republican framework? Now, if you want to say that you want an authoritarian society where the liberals or the progressives win and they control the conservatives, or if you're a conservative and you're like, yeah, conservatives just need to win and then instantiate an authoritarian conservative state, that way we can control these liberal degenerates, then you should go live in China or live in Saudi Arabia or live in Iran or live in any authoritarian nation. I'm not interested in that project. I'm not interested in controlling my neighbors. If my neighbors pay their bills, take care of their families, take care of their community, and they have something that we don't give a shit, like we don't agree on, I don't give a fuck. They can blow it out their ass. It's a free country. Have whatever shitty opinion you want. But the second that your opinions start fucking my shit up, you better believe I'm going to have something to say about it. Death Lily says, please stop strawmanning a position not stated. You've done this repeatedly. Then steelman the position, Death Lily. Steelman it. Steelman it. I've listened to the same argument over and over and over again. We can't de-escalate. The right wing is the bad side. They're responsible for 90% of what's going on. I even drew you a drawing, Death Lily. How is this a straw man? Please. One side can't decelerate. How is this a straw man of Stephen's position? Please tell me. You're saying that this side is going 30, this side is going 80. Okay. Still, come to a zero. That way you have an 80-mile-an-hour accident instead of a 110-mile-an-hour accident. And by the way, there's a possibility that if you're going 30 and 50, whatever we decided it was, that the other side will see you decelerating and they will decelerate as well. Also, Steven is straw manning what people want him to do because he's Fed posting. He's saying, oh, I can't say what I want to say because I'll be Fed posting. The reason why I can say this on YouTube is because everything I've advocated for is legal. You are allowed to defend yourself. You are allowed to always seek peace, but be prepared for violence. I don't have to Fed post because everything I'm saying is legal. Not only is it legal, it's moral. So why does Steven need to Fed post? What am I missing? Disavow. Straw man. Fuck out of here. If you say the word straw man, but you can't articulate the steel man, then you're using debate language to try to cow somebody without actually explaining why they should be cowed.
Keep him stabbed.
So anyways, I'm good with this. I think Steven's wrong. I'll tell him he's wrong. I'll either tell him he's wrong to his face if we hang out again sometime soon, or I'll tell him he's wrong. Maybe I'll call in sometime in the next week when I'm a little bit less heated. Because I don't want to yell at the man, but I do want to tell him he's wrong at some point. All right. Bye, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.